numbers.
Hey yo, this is Logan from Australia.
What's up guys, this is Will coming to you from Georgia in the United States.
Family assembled. We have liftoff.
That's a bad kitty.
Welcome to Call of the Wild. An exploration of sound with the latest electronic music.
Make the ground shake.
With nothing to hold us back, these are the songs of the wild.
I'm so alone, nothing feels like home. I'm so alone, trying to find my way back home to you. I'm so alone, nothing feels like home. I'm so alone, trying to find my way back home to you.
Back
feels like home. I'm so alone, trying to find my way back home to you. I'm so alone, nothing feels like home. I'm so alone, trying to find my way back home to you.
Here I am again, floating through the silence in my cold skin. My body is wearing thin. My fears tell me I'll never win. My body is wearing thin. And there's darkness here, the whole world I fear. In my room I seem to drown. But I won't let them take me down. I won't let them take me down. I won't let them take me down, down, down.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to VGL Summer Season 1. Now, you might see the green screen behind me. For some reason, my chroma key is refusing to work, so I will get that sorted ASAP. I have no idea. Just started doing it. It was flickering on OBS for some reason. Anyway, I'm going to introduce Dowsey and Tasty Bacon. How are you two gentlemen today?
Thank you. Very enjoying myself. I've been playing with a bunch of the people who are going to be competing today in VGL, and this is quite an exciting time as we decide who goes to playoffs today.
Absolutely, this is a pretty major thing for some of these guys, and XL never really made it this far in terms of their performance before. They're going up against Hellflames, so a team we've seen a lot of in VGL. Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule, and we guys can have a quick look at that as we go into the next game. So we'll just make sure we bring that up on your screen. So like you said, today we've got XL versus Hellflames. We're also going to have who else are we going to have, Keenan? Memento Mori versus Team Queso, and then we've got two TBAs, which will be our elimination match again at 8 o'clock CET. You looking forward to these guys? Tasty Bacon got two pretty big matches coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Dowsey was mentioning, we're going to be figuring out today who makes it into the playoffs. And that is where everyone is gunning for. That's where you want to be, with a chance to get to the challenge battles in just a couple weeks' time.
Absolutely, Dowsey, and some of these guys as well. We've got XL, we've got Hellflames here. Really, really good teams. This is going to be a really good best of three. I say we check if the teams are ready, and we could potentially jump into the... we can jump straight into the game. But I want to bring up something that we've introduced to VGL here in conjunction with VG Pro, stats provided by VG Pro. We have a wonderful graphic we could bring you guys, showing you some of the stats and figures from these guys in their solo queue performances. The champions that they play, or the heroes that they've got here, are the ones that they've been the most successful on in solo queue. So they're not exactly the most played or in order or anything like that, but you can see the various stats between all of our wonderful players. And all, again, this is all provided by VG Pro. So really, really cool little thing that we've got going on here at VGL. I'm going to check if the teams are ready, and we'll seem to get going. But XL seems to be playing really well here, Dowsey, better than they've played in VGL before. And if they do make it to the playoffs, this would be a really good boon for them, because the last time they had this success was last year, I think in autumn season of VGL, where they got to the challenge battles. This was with the whole roster not under the XL name, and they lost to SK 3-2. So they were that close last time making it to the VG8. Do you think this is their time this time, Dowsey?
I think you may be forgetting last season where they did make it into the playoffs. And,
sorry, but they didn't do very. They didn't get.
So they did it. Like, they were seeded 16th at the time. They were probably the underdogs. They were one of the lowest teams in the playoff bracket, and they made it 2 rounds into the playoff bracket. So obviously that was a fairly decent performance. But now they've got a upgraded roster. Bong Mabu's come in, as you mentioned. This roster has done well before, and I think they've got a really good shot of actually pushing it all the way.
Well, we're into draft, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll get this underway as soon as we can. XL Esports taking on Hellflames here. XL are on A side to start with, as being the higher seed. This is seed 4 versus seed 5, by the way. You might not be able to see that on your screens, but obviously it's really, really close seeding. I'll make sure I put that in the update so you guys can see that we have seed 4 versus seed 5. This is one of the closest matches I think we'll get throughout the VGL tournament thus far. Going to be really, really good to see. And Tasty Bacon draft has started. Idris and Grumpjaw bans. I have been seeing Idris first bans becoming more and more popular. I think people kind of just realizing that he is literally broken. And I'm sure Dowsey can concur. And that means Baron is up. Baron is up actually at the moment. So
I would also not agree with Idris being literally broken.
Idris
right now.
is literally broken. Idris is literally the best hero in the game right now.
Idris has one of the highest skill caps, and if you have an incredibly skilled Idris player, they can take over the game. But it does leave both Grace and Baron open. Grace going to be picked up. Grace is a hero that might be literally broken right now. But we are going to be seeing Grace come onto the fold for the first time in VGL.
Right. We've had Grace unlocked in VG8 this weekend. We saw some fantastic Grace play from all the different teams that decided they were going to give her a go. And now In the Challenger Series, it's the first time we're seeing her. I think that Grace has a lot of potential to be one of the strongest captains right now. It's really hard to shut her down.
I think Grace has got incredible prowess. We've seen her ability to take over at level 1. She can literally solo invade the jungle. We saw Gabe Vizel in the North American VG8 by boots, go into the enemy jungle, take away camps, and then literally boots out because of the incredibly high base movement speed she's got, combined with those boots making it so good to do those kind of plays. And late game, 3 points in the ultimate can single-handedly save a carry on top of a fountain. So it's she's pretty strong. I don't know how strong she is just yet. But XL have been given a pretty tasty draft here already. They've been given Grace and Baron. And Baron was left open here for Hellflames. I have been seen teams starting to stray away from Baron. Not quite as OP as they kind of felt he was even sort of the beginning of this update. I mean, Dalsy, how have you been seeing this? Is this something that you've sort of noticed a trend with?
Baron can be countered. Idris, first banning Idris specifically is to make sure that he can't be countered, because weapon power Idris does really well. Even CP Idris does really well into Baron. Grace can be shut down by a high mobile carry like a Vox, so this is really good drafting from Hell's Flames. An Ozo would be very interesting, but I can see why they want to go for it, and there it is. Ozo coming in the jungle. First Ozo of the season, I believe, and that's going to try and really shut down Cortez on this Samuel and Bongma Bu on the Baron.
It's going to be a little bit tough to shut down the Baron with an Ozo, just because the ways to shut down Baron are with assassins. That's why the Idris is so strong into it. Would have definitely preferred to see something like a Taka, because Taka does really well into both Samuel and Baron, and has the mobility to also deal with a Grace. However, the Ozo is going to be just trying to survive, trying to get that fortified health and build up a lot of defenses as well in order to be able to stay alive from the onslaught of damage that will be coming out from Bongma Bu and Cortez.
Anyway, gentlemen, this is where I leave you and hand it over to your wonderful casting tones as we head into our first game of the VGL Summer Season Split 1 Week 2. XL Esports taking on Hellflames.
And the winner of this matchup will find themselves in a premier spot, the upper bracket of the playoffs. The loser falls down to an elimination match to decide whether or not they get a second chance of heading into the playoffs in that elimination bracket. So for both these teams, they've got a really good shot of making it to the playoffs, but one of them is going to get one of those premier seatings, essentially.
Yeah, and that premier seeding is so coveted. If you get into the top half of the playoff bracket, you just need one victory from that spot. If you just win that matchup, you will be in the challenge battles guaranteed. Otherwise, you will have to slog your way through the elimination bracket, as you mentioned. But down in the jungle, we are actually going to be seeing the Ancient Treant taken very quickly by XL. Not going for the back invade with the Grace this time around, but they are going to be securing a little bit more jungle than their opponents.
Yeah, we're going to see Bongma Bu get threatened a little bit in the lane. He should be all right. Not really worrying too much. There's not much healing available to Bongma Bu, though, so he's going to really have to watch his step. The Ozo is going to be trying to put the pressure on. But Samuel, if he plays correctly, can start to outscale the Ozo early. It really just depends on how quick Bars is to getting some early kills, because if Bars is able to really get Aftershock online early, perhaps even a Shadow Glass, depending on how much damage he's wanting to output onto the two squishy targets that is Samuel and Baron, then he can really start to shut down. And this is why we're seeing Nomad Vagabond on this Grace roaming with Cortez to try and shut down the ability for Bars to get that gold early, because Samuel, obviously great damage with a Drifting Dark Malice very early, and Grace probably the strongest hero at level 1 and level 2 as far as captains are concerned.
Yeah, and they were able to steal away that middle Treant, then go and secure the Ancient Treant for the second time this game. So going to be a little bit of an edge for Cortez as far as gold is concerned over Bars. But very early on, not going to make too much of a difference unless they continue to try and push that aggressive nature.
And I think for XL, they are going to look to be aggressive in the jungle. They will hit a point, though, when Bars hits level 6, where I think Samuel might struggle against the Ozo. But for now, any pressure they put onto the Ozo buys the Baron time to hard farm in the lane. really try and get a CS lead over Vox. Vox is a very good hero late game anyway. He's probably not the best counter into Baron, but he certainly can hold his own against Baron with the builds that we see going. Tension Bow, Poison Shiv, Breaking Point, lots of attack speed, lots of ramp up there, and some sustain. So if Vox has some armor on him, which I assume he's going to be building, then he can kind of hold his own. But we do see Bars heading up into the lane, and Bongma Boo is going to have to watch himself.
And getting this wave pushed in heavily into the turret is a really good idea for the side of Hellflames, because most heroes are able to farm up under the turret very easily, while Bungbu is going to still be able to get most of these minions. Because of the splash damage out of Baron, it becomes a lot more difficult to control the wave underneath your turret and make sure you can get every single last hit, because you can't avoid doing damage to half the wave while you're trying to farm it.
Yeah, no, and any pressure put onto the Baron early is good, but they're not really succeeding in pressuring the Baron to a point where it's actually going to have any effect at this point. Bongma Boo is about halfway there of getting the Sorrow Blade first item, which I assume he wants to build towards. And Bars has not had any effect on this game. Cortez with Frostburn early. Bars, I'm assuming he's going to go back and try and get the components for his Aftershock. Very close to finishing it. I kind of would have preferred to have seen a Shadow Glass. It's not conventional, I know, on Ozo, but it just kind of would have done a lot more damage, and Cortez Bongma Boo really need to be threat in this game if Hellflames are going to win team fights.
Now, right now, XL is going to be looking to push up underneath this turret, trying to just get some siege and harass damage in, see if they can create an opening for themselves to try and go in, but Bars
going in. Cortez is very low on energy. That's going to make a real big struggle. He's going very low, but Bars might just lose his life. Yes, he does. Bongma Boo gets the kill, and he can jump forward and look for more. Hasten going very low. One more auto attack will do the trick. I don't think they have the energy to find it, though. Nomad's going to chase forward, and I think Nomad should be able to finish the job. There it is. Great turnaround from XL. The fountain difference was what won the fight.
The fountain difference, but also, like you mentioned, Dowsy, Bars, if he had gone for the Shatterglass first item, would have had a little bit more damage just from the components of the Shatterglass versus the Aftershock. Maybe they get the kill then onto Cortez. Now he has the Aftershock, going to be thought about trying to go for a trade in the lane, but either way, 2 kills to 0 for the side of XL right off the bat. A great start for them.
For sure. And this is only game 1 of the best of 3 series. Let us not forget that no matter what happens in this game, there are chances to change your composition, change how you play early. For Hell's Flames, I would think they will be, slightly concerned that they haven't been able to really impact Bongma Boo's farming. Cortez has had such strong presence in the jungle because of this Grace pickup that just really turns fights. We'll have to see if Bars with his Bangarang that was a dangerous game. Bongma dives forward. They had a flare on this Ozo, and he's just going to get bursted down. That's going to be Bongma Boo taken on out. No way. He survives. And now, what can XL do? They have Fountain available. Oblivion, they're going to put 2 to sleep, and that's going to be a nice stun, locking up this Ozo. Incredible stuff from XL to turn that around. I thought for sure that Bongma Boo was dead, but never mind.
Yeah, that was a very, very risky play from XL, but it ends up paying off for them in the end, getting a kill out of it, and now able to, again, just try and push up, trying to harass Penguin of War, who is doing a really good job of farming this game, but when this pressure continues to mount, this is the pressure they wanted to get on to Bongma Boo, and it is being put on to them. Here we go with the Ozo.
Oh, misclick onto the Grace, but they might be able to get the kill. Maybe not. Oh God, Bongma Boo is just hitting like a truck. That's going to be a double for him. And that's going to be another mistake from Hell's Flame. They are not executing whatsoever. That was meant to have been a bangarang onto the Samuel rather than the Grace, and it gives up at 3 kills over to XL. They're going to get the turret as well. They are 3,500 gold ahead, and they're looking to even take this gold miner. What a great start to this game from XL.
Yeah, everything is coming up. XL able to even secure the ace off of that. A very aggressive dive from Bongma Boo. Got the Arden down to just a sliver of health, and then you just have Nomad Vagabond able to jump in with the grace to secure the kill. Picked up the ace with about a second left, was able to then guarantee that first turret. Gold miner went their way as well, and that gold lead has just suddenly jumped up to 4,000 gold in favor of XL.
Certainly has. And now for XL, they've got this Baron online. As far as early game is concerned, he has himself a Sorrowblade, Monocle as we shift kind of towards this mid game, whereas Penguin of War actually has very little damage available to him. Tension Bow will provide a bit of an on-hit kind of effect, which will do a bit of a burst. And the Poison Shiv will shut down some of the healing, but it's really not going to sustain as much as these auto attacks from Bongmabu, especially when he jump jets forward and gets two off in quick succession. That's going to burst Penguin of War right down to roughly about maybe a fourth of his HP. And that will allow Cortez to finish the job if the fountain is not on point. So right now, XL, all they have to do is continue exactly what they're doing here, Tasty Bacon, and they've got this game in the bag.
Yeah, they're just going to continue to put pressure on, look for opportunities. They need to be careful they don't look for fights in disadvantageous spots. Like, right there, they chose not to go aggressively onto the junglers, knowing that the Crystal Sentry was right around the corner. That's a very smart decision to make at this stage of the game. Maybe in 4 or 5 minutes, that is a fight that they can and will be able to take. But right now, you just don't want to take that risk. You don't want to give any opportunities to your opponents to get themselves back into this game. It's just all about keeping the pressure, denying as much gold and vision as possible, and just riding this wave of momentum that you've already picked up for yourself to the finish.
Certainly. Haystan has not had any impact yet so far as an Arden. It's quite hard to have impact early game as an Arden. You're kind of waiting on your gauntlet to become available, and that's when you can really change the tides. But Bongmabu, towards the later stages of this game, will have his jump jets overdriven for sure. If he doesn't, then that's a huge mistake. But from my memory of casting Bongmabu, it's probably not going to be the case, because when you overdrive those jump jets, you get CC immunity. You can jump straight out of the gauntlet, no troubles, and that's going to just shut down what Hell's Flames can do to this Baron.
And here we see that Crystal Sentry being worked on. Perhaps going to be a fight, but the Sentry's already defeated, and that window of opportunity is gone.
Yeah, Hasten is going to dive back forward, and Cortez is stuck inside. The gauntlet does walk out, and they're just going to turn on bars and burst him on out. Look at the damage coming out of this Baron. 1 auto attack, 2 auto attacks, and that's Penguin of War just choked right down. Easy ace for XL. They lose Cortez in the process, but it was really never going to be anything different but that result.
Yeah, that was just, again, really well played. Really kind of misplayed by the side of Hellflames. They stuck around and looked like they were maybe looking for the fight while the Sentry was there. And then once the Sentry disappeared, they still stuck around and got engaged on at that point. Without the Sentry, XL had nothing to worry about going in for that fight. And as you mentioned, it really was just an easy ace, much too easy for the side of XL. They do give a kill over, but they have such a huge lead. 6,000 gold, going to be likely increasing even further as they work on this gold miner. Are Hellflames going to try and contest this? I don't think they're in a position where they can really look for a fight, but they can at least try and stop the objective going over, and that's just their presence alone will do that, because XL wants to fight this.
Yeah, Buzz is going to jump in. This could be a good start to the fight as Bongmabu does get bursted down. Yeah, he's going to lose his life here, it seems, but the Grace Heal's keeping him alive for now. He goes down. Cortez, what can he do? Oblivion will buy him some room. He has his Drifting Dart coming up in just 5 seconds' time, and as soon as that comes out, that could be a potential triple kill for this Samuel. Really just depends on how Hellflames focus him down. It's up. Hell's Flames is stuck around, and Cortez is right at the back here. He is throwing the Drifting Dark out, but it's far too late. He's going to get no healing, and Ozo's just going to chuck himself over. That was a good start to the fight there. Just facilitated due to a flare, not quite revealing the location of Hell's Flames.
Yeah, they ended up getting walked right into that brush. Also, Nomad Vagabond wasn't able to lock anyone down with the Holy Flare, and it was just not really the start to the fight that XL was looking for. Great job by members of Hellflames to capitalize and take advantage of the situation, able to get themselves the kills that they needed to turn that in their favor. Unfortunately, not able to get the ace, So they really aren't going to gain a whole lot of ground in terms of objectives, but the shutdown gold was still really, really good to pick up because Bongmabu was sitting on that 5-kill streak. So that was a lot of gold that went over to the side of Hellflames.
Yeah, a little bit of a comeback as far as that's concerned, but when you look at the gold, it is still 4,500 in favor of Excel. So they are sitting very comfortably in the lead. And when you look at item differences, Penguin of War has hit his 3 damage item spike on this Vox with the attack speed that the breaking point adds. It will actually allow the damage to ramp up now, which means he is a little bit of a threat in the fight. Bars is so far behind, but he's sitting on 2,000 gold, and he finishes his Broken Myth now. So we'll actually have a bit of impact in the fight as that is concerned. There's very little armor on the side of Hell's Flames, and that is just feeding straight into Bongmabu. But a fight's going to break out here, and Bars isn't able to get onto Bongmabu. Great start. Gauntlet goes down. Bongmabu's trapped on the side, though. He needs to really reposition here, and he's just getting focused on down. Divine Intervention may save him, but it's going to be a great Oblivion from Cortez, stunning everyone, putting them to sleep, and this is going to be the cleanup squad that they need. That's going to be Bars jumping on in. Oh, the Gold Miner getting involved. Works against Cortez, but the ace will come out, and that's just going to leave Nomad Vagabond to walk around the map.
And Nomad has the minions pushed up as well, so these ace buff minions going to get under the turret, will do a little bit of damage to the turret. It's not going to be enough to take the turret down because the respawns are coming through, and Hyaston, even as an Ardent, should be able to clear these minions out before the turret actually falls. Penguin of War also going to be here as well, just to ensure that that happens. But again, these fights looking a bit better for the side of Hellflames now that they have these items. Penguin of War does still lack a bit of damage, even though it does have that breaking point to stack up and build up. You do need initial base damage to make that stack up quickly. And I'm concerned for the level of damage that will actually be coming out and how quickly and efficiently those stacks will be appearing on Penguin of War. But Bars definitely, now that he has the Broken Myth, is able to do a lot more damage on this Ozo, as we saw in that last fight.
And these team fights have kind of been facilitated by the fact that Bongmabu has refused to overdrive his B. Normally you see a Baron do it at level first. He overdrives it first so that he can kind of escape some of these CC things. I'm not too concerned by Bongmabu not doing it first because at the end of the day, they were snowballing fights and it didn't seem like it was necessary. It has kind of brought Hell's Flames back into it, but now he has finished his level gaining journey, and he's overdriven his ultimate, which just seems so counterintuitive. I'm a little bit concerned now for XL because not overdriving his B is going to really open up the playmaking potential of this Arden and the gauntlets that he can throw down.
Yeah, I'm going to say, like, I actually was a bit concerned that the B wasn't overdriven first, because if you overdrive the A first, those porcupine mortars, it means that you're going to be missing out on one of the 2 core components of Weapon Baron, because overdriving the ult is something you always want to do as a Weapon Baron, because each level in the ultimate gives you extra attack range. And then, as you mentioned, overdriving the jump jets gives you that immunity to crowd control while you're flying through the air. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you're going with a Weapon Baron to overdrive the porcupine mortars.
Yeah, no, I somehow slipped my memory. The auto attack increase when you upgrade your ultimate. So when you think about it, it's just a bit of an error from Bongmabu, and we're going to have to see what this means for the progression of this game. Bars diving in, a Oblivion gets blocked up. Bongmabu stuck in a gauntlet once more, and there's just no way for him to go. Blocks up, but they might just be able to kill Penguin of War before Bongmabu goes down. This is great from XL. They've just been able to keep him right alive as Nomad Vagabond on this Grace provides so much healing. And triple kill will come out. Perhaps that's what XL is thinking, is that they don't need to worry about escaping because they have Grace, but holy moly, it goes close to the wire.
Yeah, it definitely does, but they are going to get that ace. They're going to be able to take this Kraken. Bongmabu will go and make sure that this tier 3 turret falls in the process. And this is looking like XL are just going to be able to close this game out with a solid Kraken push. And they can easily rotate over and take the Crystal Sentry as well, just to ensure things go that much smoother if they have to retreat out of the base for whatever reason. But as the infusions get picked up and topped up for the side of XL, it's looking like the beginning of the end a bit here for members of Hell Flames. They are going to at least be able to get their infusions. I wasn't sure. Penguin of War was buying an awful lot. Wasn't sure if they were going to leave enough for the infusion, but they were wise enough to do so.
And the only thing that's kind of keeping XL alive in these gauntlet fights is the fact that they have a Grace, and Holy Nova really knocks up anyone who's trying to dive on top of the Baron. This is where Grace synergizes quite well with Baron because she protects him, and Nomad Vagabond's able to really try and shut down these engages. But he needs to be getting closer as Bongmabu is getting taken down low. Lots of damage flying out. Bongmabu gets so much healing from this Grace, from the fountain, and he's going to look to shut down bars. A double kill for him, and that will be Haystan running away for his dear life. Does manage to get to the healing fountain, but it is just GG as XL take down this final Vein Crystal turret. They go on to the Vein Crystal. They secure game 1 of this series.
Excellent work by the members of XL. And those heals from the Grace. Once you have the infusion, and there's a crystal bit in there too, over 900 health being healed every time that divine intervention gets thrown out. And you can throw it out so quickly. It gets down to about a 20-second cooldown or so. Really, really strong stuff from the members of XL. You see Nomad Vagabond 4-0-10, able to really just keep the team alive throughout these fights and preventing aces on the couple of fights that they did lose.
Bring you back into this Scoundrel. There's a lot of questions about the draft and who won it. Personally, I think XL actually won it because of the fact they have Grace, who just synergizes so well with keeping Samuels and Barons alive. But kind of wondering what your thoughts are on this.
I actually think this was one in draft as well, Dalsey. I think giving Grace over, there is questions about whether Grace is good. Like in terms of, everyone knows she's good, but how good is she? Like, is she first pick worthy? But then giving Grace and Baron, and Grace is so good in hyper carry compositions for that exact reason, Dalsey, because she provides a 40% damage reduction with no CP behind her, and provides that massive heal when she gets to level 3 on her ultimate too. I mean, you get an infusion, that heal hits like 1,000 health. So it's even that's without any CP items whatsoever. So it's a really, really, really big heal on a hyper carry composition. And you add a Samuel in there as well, who's got great sustain damage, can control team fights really well with his Malice and Verdict. I think XL had a really solid draft. I actually probably would have preferred to see Attacker as opposed to the Ozo come out here. I don't think, especially as the game gets towards 15 minutes onwards, that Ozo has enough of an impact compared to how much Taka does in terms of single target bursts. So Ozo's single target burst in the early game is insane. Drops off really hard as it gets towards the late, whereas Taka kind of always has that impact, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I think TG Bacon made the same point that he would have preferred an assassin rather than the Ozo. Ozo can kind of operate as an assassin, but when you fall behind and you don't have the tempo in the jungle that Grace kind of just allows any jungler to have, then you're not going to really ever get to a point where you're threatening at the level Ozo needs to do. So mistakes were made by XL, don't get me wrong, this was not a clean game, and a better team would have punished them. But with the strong composition that they had, and probably the fact that Baron is just so strong right now, that they were able to take this game away. Next game, though, they need to make sure that they don't give away or kind of handicap themselves, because things aren't always going to be as easy for them as a roster, and having every advantage possible is going to really, really help.
So, we are waiting for the teams to get ready. I think Bongmabu just had to take a quick bio break, ready to get back and sort of get back and kicking for this XL composition. Again, I fixed the green screen. It was because I overlit it, and therefore my streaming software could not recognize that it was green. The more you know. It thought it was white because I had too much light on my green screen. And managed to fix that during the game, so I'm pretty happy with myself, just going to say. Next game coming up here, Dalsey. I mean, are we expecting Grace bans, or do you think it's going to be up to Hellflames to potentially take that off the board first?
No, I'm expecting that we'll see Grumpjaw Baron. Personally, just because XL are on B-side now, so they don't have priority over those two picks. I think Grace likely to go over to Hell's Flames. It really just depends on how they prioritize it. I played a bit with Haystan recently, and I can't remember if he played Grace whatsoever when we played. I would have to double check on that. because if he is comfortable in Grace, that really does dictate whether or not Hell's Flames prioritize it with a ban or a pick.
Let's have a look at that wonderful versus screen that we have here by VGPro.gg. Obviously, they partnered with us to provide these stats for the VGL broadcast, so thank you very much to those guys. You can see Cortez, top 3 most successful heroes, and one of those happens to be the Samuel, sitting on a pretty solid KDA there, good CS per minute as well. Nomad Vagabond has got a couple of heroes there, notably his Grumpjaw captain, which he plays quite a lot of. Keep an eye on whether he pulls that out to the table. And Bongmabu, he is kind of the Celeste Bay. We've always known him as like the Celeste Bay. And he's got that on his top 3 there too. Bars 11, Petal, not been brought out too much, but I actually just played a Petal recently into a Petal as Grace, and I always felt that Petal did pretty well into Grace. She kind of gets really heavily shut down by a great Petal with Frostburn, so we'll have to see whether Bars 11 finds that opportunity. I've just got to make sure teams are ready to go. And we look like we are ready to get on to the next draft phase here in the VGL summer season. Just want to show you guys that wonderful stat screen that we have again. It's really cool to be able to pull that up and show you on broadcast the individual stats of these players.
And, you know, taking stats further, if you actually to head over to VGPro.gg and look at the individual players, you could actually bring up this previous game and look at some of the damage differences between them and their build orders, their the way they max their heroes. You look at damage though. Bongmabu did 34,500 damage. Cortez did 26,500, compared to the 17,000 that both Bars and Penguin did. Almost double both these guys in their damage, and it really just showed how far behind Hell's Flames were this entire game.
So here we go into the next draft phase. Dalsy and Tasty Bacon. Baron is the first ban here. Now, XL Esports are thinking about their ban very carefully. Not just going to insta-ban the Grumpjaw. Maybe thinking about banning Idris or Grace. I know Idris has been seeing lots of bans recently, more and more so ever since people have realised that his CP is literally broken. And he's going to... Idris is pretty good right now. And he...
one of the strongest CP laners in the game at the moment.
Yeah.
I will not dispute that.
I'm joking, guys.
It requires a very strong composition to support him.
It's my personal frustration by getting absolutely blasted by Idris in solo queue. Anyway, looks like it's going to be a Lance priority here for Hellflames. That means Grumpjaw's still available for Nomad Vagabond should he want it, as is Grace, which XL had success with in the last game, Tasty Bacon.
Yeah, I would not be upset to see them grab the Grace again. I think Grace is wonderful into a Lance, especially if you overdrive the B. You can really shut down whatever the Lance is trying to do. You know, oftentimes we'll be like, oh, you're throwing down your B, I'm going to just push you away. But if you have it overdriven, you don't get moved, and Lance just gets stunned. But they are going to go with the Finn instead. So even though the Grace is available, they decide they don't want to pick it up this time.
Very classic.
Strong move.
Yeah, very classic pick into Lance as well. People often pick this Finn into Lance pretty much all the time. And again, locked in the Vox here. Super mobile. Bongmabu played a lot of Vox recently, so XL pretty comfortable with the first stage of their draft.
And now for Cortez, he just picks up Batiste, who's going to be really strong into the Grumpjaw that's been locked out. They're going to have a lot of engage potential, a lot of lockdown potential. Cortez should feel as safe as Rain. Okay, that's not a thing. Is Rain safe? I guess Rain's safe.
I think the saying is as right as Rain, but...
Right as Rain, yeah. But I'm thinking Rain's feeling pretty safe right now. That's an interesting lock-in. A Celeste coming through. Wonder what XL will do, because now that Celeste is there, there's a lot of temptation to pick up an assassin like Tucker. I'm not sure I like the Sky, but the idea is that you have double ranged with a Finn, and you're going to just be able to safely shoot from range and use the polite companies to keep yourself safe.
Interestingly enough, this is just a small little insider story that I have with Bongmabu and Cortez when it comes to the Sky versus Celeste matchup. Bongmabu thinks the Celeste into Sky matchup is incredibly good for Celeste, whereas Cortez thinks the opposite, hence why Cortez might be finding himself on the Sky. So it's very interesting.
That is extremely interesting. A great little insight to the players and how they think Excalibur as we get into this second game here. We'll have to see if Cortez is right, because if he wins this game against Bars, then he can really shove it in Bong Mabu's face.
I'm sure Cortez would want nothing more. Anyway, let's head on to the Halcyon Fold for our second game of this XL Esports versus Hell's Flame matchup. Winners bracket round 3. Winner will find themselves in the playoff, I believe. So this is a big match for XL if they can take it. Dalcy, Tasty Bacon.
Well, thank you very much.
I was about to say, gentlemen, take it away, but gentlemen, take it away.
I'm too eager, Scoundrel. Not only will they find themselves in the playoffs, but if they win that next match in the playoffs, then they actually find themselves in the challenge battles. That's how powerful entering the playoff bracket in one of those top 4 seeds is.
Yeah, absolutely. And going to be one of these members of the side of Excel able to say, I told you so after this game. It's just going to be a matter of who. Obviously, Penguin of War definitely going to be looking to prove Bong Mabu right, as they are going to try and even this series up at 1 game apiece.
Yep, and we're going to see how this works out, because Bong Mabu is in the lane against the Celeste. They've switched their roles over here, Hell's Flames. Bars taking the Celeste into the lane. We see Cortez currently sitting there. There's a bit of a distance between Bars, but he's level 1 and he's stepping onto the right side of the lane. So Cortez could land a huge forward barrage onto Bars, and they could really chunk him out of lane, which would be so beneficial. Here he goes. Forward he comes. Nomad Vagabond's going to try and quibble, pull him back in. Series strike over, and Cortez is saying, I told you so! He might lose his life, but at least he gets first blood.
Yeah, so I guess worth question mark. It's interesting because yes, they get the first blood bonus, but at the same time, that was a lot of time that Cortez was just hanging out in the lane while Penguin of War was just sort of farming the jungle. Also means that the experience was being split 3 ways by the members of Excel, as Penguin of War and Hyaston going to be stealing away that mid treant. Also very interesting to see Penguin of War and Bars swapping roles for this game.
Yep, and I think this is just due to heroes that they wanted to play. Often this is what we see from Challenger Series teams. When they do switch roles, it's all about the heroes rather than anything else. I actually think this is the weakest thing you can do as a team. From my experience casting many esports titles, it always is worthwhile just dedicating yourself to a role. People make the argument that the greater your hero pool, the stronger you are, and I think that's certainly true when you play competitive and you have a strong hero pool for a specific role. But when it comes to varying roles, it breaks team synergy up. It's so minute, the differences, but they make up such a huge difference overall in synergy and whatnot, that switching roles can really just change how you play early levels, how you play late game levels. And I think that teams are going to start realizing this soon, that just having dedicated players in roles is always going to be stronger.
Yeah, it really is. It used to be, at the very early onset, having that flexibility is a benefit. But like you mentioned, as things continue to evolve and mature in the esports scene, you're going to want to have that set defined roles. I feel like one of the ways to look at it is if you look at it as efficiency in a sense, and you put it on a scale of 1 to 100, being able to have that flexibility and swap roles is like accounts for maybe 10% of that. And then when you have everyone performing in the top 90%, that 10% difference becomes something that can actually really hurt you. If you're at, if you're a 97 in the lane and a 92 in the jungle, swapping that difference in against someone who is sitting at a 97, you're going to start losing out. And so you really want to be able to just focus on your one role, know those matchups, know the specific mechanics for that role like the back of your hand, and get yourself as close to that 100 as you can.
I agree. 5% makes a lot of difference at the highest level of play. If you consider some of the players who are competing are in the top 99 percentile as it is for their chosen roles. And when you think that your opponents are just dedicating themselves to a single role, getting to be the best of that single role, and you're dancing between them, That's also where that efficiency becomes a problem. But I think enough about that. Let's talk about the potentials of this game. There's a lot of blow up potential. If Haysten lands a impale onto Bongmabu or even Cortez, then the ability for Bars and Penguin of War to just instantly delete them from the map, especially considering we've got a weapon power Grumpjaw who's going to be building a crit build. The XL's positioning is going to really be what wins them team fights.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. This will definitely be a burst composition taking on a sustained damage composition, as Cortez and Bongmabu definitely going to be looking for these slightly longer team fights, forward barrage, and just the ramp up of a Vox versus Penguin of War and Bars, who want to just absolutely nuke a target. Right now, the sustained damage is currently winning out in these early trades.
It is, but it can be turned around. That's the kind of thing.
Easily.
It happens so quickly that when you are on the side of sustain, you might be baited into thinking that the team fight's won based on how much damage you've outputted, and then all of a sudden you get destroyed. Tension bow completed for Penguin of War. Now is the time to really test that theory. The good thing about Finn here is that it also counters Grumpjaw, so you already have a kind of Grumpjaw counter in your composition with a Finn, because he can body block the stuff, stand on top of his carries. All it's going to do is silence him. This is a bit of a awkward rotation from XL. They actually did not respect the turret taking damage that comes out of Hell's Flame, and they've just completely given that up for free. Now they have to be careful that they don't over risk chasing Hell's Flames down, because that would just feed into what Hell Flames want them to do.
Yeah, really nice job by Hellflames taking advantage of that rotation, recognizing that the lane was going to be empty and that they could just push in. Lots of damage onto Penguin of War, not quite going to go down. And XL very likely going to want to try and push up this turret a bit. No, instead they want to make the move into the jungle. Missed out on a bit of time that they could have maybe tried to finish off this turret. And now I don't think they're going to be able to get it.
And, I've talked about how I'd prefer to see a Batiste rather than a Sky into Grumpjaw, but I didn't take into account the fact that I think it was 2.6, Grumpjaw's living armor got changed so that he loses the stacks much quickly when he gets damaged. And Sky's Forward Barrage is able to pretty much nuke it if Grumpjaw's not in battle, if he's not auto-attacking himself. So there is an element of counter there in the latest update for Grumpjaw versus Sky. That's not to say that I still think that Batiste would have been better. I do. But it is worth noting that if Cortez is to forward barrage Grumpjaw, then Grumpjaw's going to drop his living armor stacks very quickly, especially if he's not on the front line trying to take down either Cortez or Bongmabu.
Yeah, and the living armor is such an important part of Grumpjaw's kit. Gives him a lot of extra damage when he first goes in. It just adds to that burst factor, which is what Hellflames are looking for in this game as a whole. Right now, Gold Miner going to be close to going down. Doesn't quite get stolen. And so it is just going to be Hellflames able to take that objective and then back off.
And this is the power of the composition from Hell's Flames, is that if an objective is left open for a short period of time, then they can take that very quickly. With the Helogenesis from Celeste turning Supernova, it does so much burst damage to the objective. Grumpjaw is extremely quick at taking down objectives with his B. He's maxed it first, which means his auto attack steroid is going to be pretty troublesome, and he already does a lot of damage on this anyway. So for Hell's Flames, they are going to continue to challenge the macro rotations of XL. XL, perhaps right now, not too worried about losing these major objectives, because they're not wanting to go for an all-out team fight just yet. They want to try and get to this broken myth point. Cortez building towards it, as you see. And you see Bongmabu has already got his breaking point online with the Sora Blade, so he's going to have some sustained damage. But until they hit it, they're in a bit of trouble. Oh, great stuff on to Bongmabu. He is going down for the count. Watch how quickly he gets deleted. Insane. Just literally disappears off the Halcyon Fold, and he'll be coming back in 14 seconds. Nomad Vagabond actually might lose his life. Has Fountain. I think he'll have to use it. Oh, God, no. He just challenged how long he could survive and ended up being his death. And this is a snowball that Hell's Flames can execute on, because this turret is going to get deleted no matter what Cortez does to save it. He's doing nothing. He's just keeping himself alive. The goal difference that's just gone over to Hell's Flames is immense.
And you mentioned their ability to take objectives so quickly. Let's see how quick that turret just fell, as Hellflames able to use this composition to take advantages across the map. Whether it's the gold miner or just shoving in the lane, delete one target and just push up and find that objective damage. They have been able to do so, getting themselves this 4,000 gold lead in their favor. And the members of VGL are going to have to be a lot more cautious with their rotations so that they don't get caught out in these unfortunate positions.
Now, XL, they are looking to scale up. The likes of Sky and Vox very strong in the late game. And so that's why you see XL rotating into the jungle as two, Bongmabu and Cortez heading that way so that they can share both gold and experience. Perhaps they are just underestimating the ability to take objectives from Hell's Flames. Perhaps they are making the conscious decision that they are going to fall behind regardless because they want to scale, and they're not too worried about not contesting. Either way, Hell's Flames are going to take every opportunity they can, because if they can snowball the item differences, then they're going to be in a fantastic position when a team fight does arise around the 15-minute mark with a Kraken unleashed. Then they can look to try and use that massive objective to bait XL into a fight where they are at a power deficit. And that moment is coming sooner rather than later. 5,000 gold, maybe 4.5 really, in the lead for Hell's Flames, and they can continue doing this until the 15-minute mark.
And that's exactly what they're going to be looking to do. There's no reason for them to try and push the envelope and take risks. They're going to go after this Crystal Sentry. It's already defeated. Again, just able to use this burst to take out objectives so fast. Even without having a Storm Crown, they don't even need it because there's just so much attack speed and so much damage from both of these carries. And it's really, the onus is on XL to try and make something happen here. They're obviously just going to be looking to farm up. They really want to get this Broken Myth completed on Cortez before they really start looking for a fight. But sooner rather than later, they're going to have to pull the trigger on something, or it will just be the members of Hellflames starting to run away with this.
Currently, XL trying their best to get experience and gold onto both Bongmabu and Cortez. They are so close to hitting a point where they might take a team fight. Cortez is about to finish his Broken Myth. And he is going to get some shielding as well. Bongmabu building towards some crit, likely going to be that of a monocle, but a lot of people are favoring the Tornado Trigger on this patch, so we'll have to see what he decides for. Hell's Flames, they are likely to take this gold miner in about 1.5 minutes, perhaps wait the whole 2 minutes out so they can get the most gold from it. And then they will threaten Kraken and see how strong XL are. XL, they do have a chance to win a fight, don't get me wrong. They aren't going to be at such a power deficit that this is just guaranteed a Hell's Flames fight win for them, but they are certainly going to be really challenged. As I mentioned earlier, it all comes down to their positioning and their engages, the quibbles are going to have to really lock down someone if they're going to be able to blow someone up quickly, whether it be the Grumpjaw or the Celeste.
And so, members of XL recalling back to base, just looking to top off a bit. No infusions purchased, which is fairly interesting given that we are less than 2 minutes from the Kraken spawning. There's actually Cortez did get one, but Cortez and Penguin of War and Bars, the three members that have infusions, that will be an infusion edge for the side of Hellflames when this fight does break out, unless Bongmabu is able to pick one up before then. Bongmabu has the gold for the infusion, but is also very likely wanting to save up for that Tyrant's Monocle to just increase the damage, be able to stick around in these fights a little bit more effectively and try and answer some of that burst damage that is coming out of Hellflames. Hellflames 30 seconds away from Kraken, very likely going to be trying to force the issue once she does spawn. That's going to be a clockwork now finished for Bars. This is going to make this Celeste very, very scary to contend with.
Yeah, for sure. The amount of heliogenesis that can be dropped in a short period of time is going to be pretty scary for XL. I'm actually a bit surprised. Bongma Boo's waiting for the 15-minute mark before infusing. Or, was just prioritizing the Tyrant's Monocle, but you have an infusion up and ready within the minute. Cortez infused, and it just seemed really odd, but they're going to go for a fight now. That's going to be Wait for It flying out, blocked up. Penguin of War sticking around for this. The core collapse goes out, and Cortez is right on top of this. Celeste. Bars is struggling, and Cortez now has to escape Penguin of War, but look at the living armor stacks. They've dropped. Bongma Boo going to take the kill, and that's going to be Penguin of War finding one, but he's going to go down for the double over to Bongma Boo. Cortez just dealt with Celeste like a boss, and then the pull-in comes through from that Finn, the Crucible being used for the Wait for It, really just meant that the ability for Nomad Vagabond to take the fight was insane.
And that was all about positioning. XL able to position themselves properly. Like you mentioned, Bars was just struggling in that fight, barely got the ultimate off. It did do a lot of damage, but just not quite enough for them to win the fight. Beautiful, beautiful fight by the members of XL in order to take Bars effectively out of that fight, and wasn't able to drop a whole lot of Helios. And all of that was done with Bongma Boo still not having the infusion, was still actually a few hundred gold shy of it. So that is a beautiful sign for the members of XL, looking to close the series out 2-0 if they can continue to have fights like that.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, they've hit this point where their fights can definitely go their way. Cortez, the reason he believes Sky is so good into Celeste is that he can make moves like that. The series strike right across the enemy team, forcing Bars with a forward barrage towards his team, meant that Bars was either it was between a rock and a hard place, and Cortez was really dictating the movement of the Celeste, which is not something Celeste wants. Celeste wants to be free to kind of go where she pleases. If those Crucibles are used for the Wait for It every time, then that's going to allow Nomad Vagabond to hit a nice forced accord. But if they're not used for the Wait for It and the silence hits the captain, then the forced accord can be used anyway. It's a tricky situation for Hell's Flames, but it does go out, it does miss. That's going to be a route going down onto this Sky. But XL seemingly okay with this as Bongma Boo just steps away from these heliogenesis and not going to be too affected. There's the silence going out. Silences both Haystan and Bars. Penguin of War doing to do his best to Cortez, but the death from above has blocked them right up. Huge solar storm, and Throwbad's going to go down, but they trade it out for the Grumpjaw. Bongma Boo going to find a double kill onto this Celeste, and Haystan going to go down with one more auto attack, it seems, from Bongma Boo, and there's the triple kill. Great stuff once more from XL, able to take that fight, and the Kraken's going to be their prize.
Yeah, very, very good team fighting from the members of XL. I mean, Cortez with the Sky is doing such a good job stripping away those living armor stacks from the Grumpjaw and making that a much squishier target. They traded by having Nomad Vagabond on the front lines for them, while it was Penguin of War on the front lines for the members of Hellflames. And once you get that 1-for-1 trade, losing out your captain who's already used all of their utility for the enemy damage-dealing jungler is a very advantageous position to be in. Bongma Boo and Cortez are able to easily just dive on through, take out Bars, and then finish off Haystan, capture the Kraken. Now we'll see how much work they can do. The first turret has already fallen, and now they're pushing up onto the tier 2.
It seems like Hellflames have kind of forgotten what their composition's about. It's diving onto one target and blowing them up. They're playing a kiting game. It's not working, but this time they've picked up the Vox, and they could look to blow him up. That's going to be Bongma Boo diving away. Huge forced accord pulls everyone back and provides the space for Bongma Boo to get it out safely, and he's going to chunk everyone right down. This turret falls. The Kraken half HP. We'll see if XL decide to progress to the next turret. It is a bit risky because of this Celeste able to take it down very quickly. In that choke point as well makes things difficult, but XL, they will respect that, fall back, take themselves a Crystal Sentry.
All right, Crystal Sentry defeated, but 2 turrets taken during the span of that ace. Only one was actually taken with the Kraken. Still very much the members of XL fighting their way back into this. They are still down by a pretty significant amount of gold. It's a 6,000 gold lead still in the favor of Hellflames. And I agree with you. They need to sort of find their identity on this composition once more. Try and just pick out one of those targets and blow them up. It was a stuff going onto Bong Wabu that time, but they were not able to capitalize on it whatsoever. It looked like Bars was trying to focus down Cortez while the Vox was stuffed, but I really feel like in that situation, you need to try and get yourself set up to blow up that Vox the moment that he gets spit out, because you're going to have him so deep on the back lines, but he's not going to be there for long.
And I'm actually going to reverse a statement I made earlier. It's very easy to do so now. We've seen it in action, but I want to just make the point so people see it. We might have to wait for that as XL are currently positioning for a fight. I said that Hell's Flames are going to be very comfortable just waiting out till the Kraken. I was completely wrong. They have allowed XL to hit a point where they can take fights, and what they needed to be doing is trying to force fights around the turrets. A very risky thing to do, don't get me wrong. It's not an easy task, especially when you have two melees, but you have a Celeste, and Celeste is able to do a lot of damage from range. She had level 8, and really it should have been trying to push this game deeper and deeper as quickly as possible, because XL have been allowed to farm their backs, they've been allowed to farm the waves that have been pushed to them. They haven't really lost out on too much gold income, hasn't really ever been challenged by Hell's Flames, and that's a huge mistake from them. So I'm going to reverse that statement just for the point that I want it to be said. But now we'll have to see if they are able to find their identity, like you say, Tasty Bacon, and look to try and blow up either this Vox or this Sky.
Yeah, I would actually alter that statement a little bit, and I don't think they should have been looking for fights near the turrets, because that is extremely dangerous. I feel like they should have been trying to force the issue in their opponent's jungle a bit, though. They could take that Crystal Sentry extremely quickly. We saw them take the Crystal Sentry extremely quickly, and if they were just a little bit more aggressive in the jungle, take that Crystal Sentry out, maybe it forces a fight while you have this big lead and you're able to then win that fight. If they don't try and take a fight, then you're able to steal away those backs, and you're able to wait for the Kraken while still denying gold going over to Excel. But because they were just playing very passively during that time, that's why now the chance is here for Excel.
They are going in XL. Nomad's chugged right on down. Nomad might lose his life here. If he does, that's disastrous. They have no front line. A chance now for Hell's Flames to turn this around, but they're dodging and diving. XL, the Solar Storm goes completely wide. Bong Mabu and Cortez very comfortable running into that death from above. But Bong Mabu, where are you going? Bong Mabu, he's looking to escape, pops the boots, and Sonic zooms away. Cortez will happily deal with Hayastan, but now he needs to try and protect his Vox, who seems to have just escaped. So now Cortez may be the person in trouble. That's going to be one kill going his way as Hayastan gets a little bit too close. Cortez trying to chunk down Bars, and he gets the double kill. Okay, Cortez, I see you looking for a solo triple kill on this Sky, but I don't think he's going to risk. Penguin of War sets up the route to make sure he's safe, and that should be the end of that. Penguin of War going to be wondering what just happened to his team.
Cortez I'm sure wanted to go after Penguin of War, but didn't have the energy. I can almost guarantee if there was energy for another forward barrage, Cortez would have gone for that triple. But what a great play by Cortez, able to not only keep himself alive, but get the damage out. That was Sky doing really well into a Celeste. That forward barrage, the Celeste was trying to get out of the forward barrage, but just didn't have the movement speed to be able to do so.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what Cortez would argue is the reason why Sky does well into Celeste. Would have been a told you so right there, I'm sure, on the comms as XL, the team, very happy to have a bit of banter with each other. Now a second Kraken taken. Infusions are there for everyone across the table. Bong Mabu looking to finish his build, as is Cortez. They're not going to do it just yet. In fact, Bong Mabu, okay, never mind. He needs 100 gold to finish his... No, way more. He needs so much more gold. I am bad at maths, but we learned that last week anyway, Tasty Bacon. They're going to push down this Kraken and look to try and complete this series.
No, we'll see how much they can push in there. Again, they still have to be wary because the members of Hellflames do still have a gold lead, but that has not looked to be the case in the last few fights. It's going to be a Crucible used on a Forced Accord that was never going to connect anyway. And now the members of Excel can look to really push in lots of damage onto this turret.
Lots of damage indeed. And the wait for it has been set up to hit key targets. Does go out, hits Hayastan. The rest of XL are starting to move their way into the base. This Kraken's at half HP. Death from above going to corridor them. They are just going to happily take that. Nomad, though, gets chunked right down. He's okay. He has himself a fountain, so he's not too worried. Oh, they pulled over Bars. Oh no, Bars is dead. Penguin of War commits, but that's just going to be Penguin of War dying now. They're going to kite him right out, and that's going to be 2 kills. What a huge forced accord coming over. This Kraken is low, but it's going to easily secure a turret. May even be able to get 2 here, and it could just be the end of the game for XL. Let's see if they can push it in. The Kraken going very low, but I think it's just enough to take this turret down. Hayeston doing his best, but he has nothing to really do here. Gets silenced down, and that's going to be XL finishing the game from a huge forced accord from Nomad Vagabond.
Absolutely beautiful forced accord. So many times we see Finns try and look for those big 3-man hooks. Those aren't often what you actually want. It's being able to isolate 1 or 2 members with the forced accord is the play to make. They pulled over Bars, the priority target. Penguin of War did what he could, trying to dive over the wall and even things up. Was able to get 1 kill out of it, but unfortunately just not enough. And just like that, XL, they were down so much. They were over 6,000 gold deficit while making that final push into the base and are still able to pick up the win. Absolutely incredible mental fortitude from the members of XL, and Cortez looks to be on the right side of choosing counter picks this time around.
Yeah, certainly going to be caking that one home, making sure that Bongma Boo never hears the end of it. Scoundrel, fantastic patience from XL to execute when they hit their power spikes and really just dance around Hell's Flames composition.
Yeah, I think you guys touched on everything in that game. It was fantastic. XL, you know, they were down as well. And what's so funny about the XL team is that I have played with a lot of the guys, and when you play like solo queues with them and you play team games with them, when you're behind, they often they tilt a little bit. They get a little bit angry, and sometimes we never find a way back. When they play in a competitive setting, they always find comebacks. They always somehow find their way back into the game. And obviously Nomad right there must have been thinking, I've just taken too much damage. I'm probably going to potentially lose, not be able to win the game off this, but that big forced accord at the end there. Brilliant forced accord. And it's very hard to block those Finn forced accords because you only see it at the very last moment when you don't see the wind-up animation. That's what makes forced accord quite easy for some people to block, because you can see the wind-up animation on Finn. When you don't see Finn, you don't see the wind-up animation. It's a little bit harder to make those blocks. So big pull onto the Celeste there, winning the game for XL. And they are now 2-0 up. They do go through to our playoff bracket and will be 1 game away from a challenge battle to make it into the VG8, guys.
Oftentimes at Scoundrel, I find myself saying, off the back of an awesome play from Nomad Vagabond, he has been a star player, but both Bongma Boo and Cortez, equally in their own rights, have shown themselves to be stars. Cortez, his double kill around that Kraken, taking out Hayeston and then just singling out Bars. You look at damage once more, Cortez actually beat out Bongma Boo despite not having anywhere near the amount of damage items of Bongma Boo. So obviously landing significant portions of Sky's damage consistently. XL are certainly a roster to fear. They've made it to the playoffs. They are in one of those top 4 seeds now, and for Hell Flames, they drop down to the elimination bracket where they have a second chance of making it into the playoffs, but it will be the gauntlet run for them if they were to make it to the challenge battles.
We're going to cut to a small break, ladies and gentlemen, while we get the next game set up. It will be Memento Mori versus Team Queso. So a big game for Team Queso, because if they lose this, they are out of the tournament entirely. So they need to win to carry on their hopes.
Memento Mori as well.
Yeah, obviously, but I think a lot of pressure sitting on Team Queso's back, as they are the team that has so much behind them. So I think Memento Mori, some great players in their own right. They are a very high seed, I believe seed 10. So let's keep our eyes on this match. It's going to be a good one. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Sorry, timer was there for a little bit longer. I had a lot of things to update, and we're going to make sure we move on with this as soon as everybody knows. I'm going to make sure teams are ready for drafts happening very, very shortly. In the meantime, let's hand over to Dalton to speak for a second to talk about this amazing matchup coming our way.
So, brace us back, way back to the beginning.
Everyone definitely didn't hear me because I had the music still on. Before.
And knowing Tomic's desires, the music was blaring at 200%.
The music was very loud. Okay, so we've got a lot of cool stuff going away still, guys. We've got Team Queso versus Memento Mori. Going to be in a fantastic game. I wasn't muted, everybody. I was still talking. The music just wasn't down, and it's a very loud music. We've got Team Queso versus Memento Mori, which is going to be a fantastic game. It's going to be pretty fantastic. I'm going to make sure, I've used the word fantastic 50 times now, but I'm going to make sure that the teams are ready to go. Dalsy and Tasty Bacon. This is a big match for both these teams.
Sure is. This is an elimination match just before you make it to the decider match of whether or not you get to the playoffs or not. So this is a step before the position you want to be in, but obviously a very crucial step as well, Tasty Bacon.
Yeah, absolutely important. I mean, if you lose this one, you're out of the challengers until next split. And these are two top teams, 10 versus 3. I don't think anyone would have predicted that we have a matchup like this in the elimination bracket. And a fun little fact is because these two top teams are down here, it means that once this match is done, 3 of the top 10 teams in Europe, seeding-wise, will be eliminated from this split challengers. And that just goes to show how strong the level of competition in Europe is right now, how high the level of competition has risen.
And if we throw ourselves back to the beginning of VGL, we broadcasted the game between Team Queso and eSuba. Now, eSuba was seeded 30th, but they're a team that should have been a little bit higher up based on the fact that the players, Baron, VG, Treason, and Gochi are all players who have kind of hit high elo in the past, but because of the new season, weren't quite there. However, they upset eSuba nonetheless in a 2-0 very clean game. And so Team Queso dropped into the elimination bracket very early on into the tournament and have had to fight their way out of it. They haven't lost a match since then. 2-0'd their opponents every time. Memento Mori, they lost to Waves.
I'm going to have to just quickly cut in there, Dalsy, because otherwise I'm never going to get this game started. We do have the API stuff up on the screen. Guys, just check that out. The teams are pretty ready to go in the draft. So we're going to jump into the draft very quickly. Sorry, Dalsy, I really wanted to get the API stuff done before we jumped into the game.
Before we go live, Dalsy, I want you to stall for a long time.
I said stall for a little bit, not stall for like some sort of biblical length of time.
In Australia, a little bit is a long time.
Anyway, thank you to vgpro.gg for all of these stats you can see on your screen. We'll go over them during this series as well, but we are already into the draft, so let's jump into it. Dalsy, I don't know where you were with your story, but now is the time that you can kind of continue it, because in true VGL fashion, we do sometimes waste the draft talking about random stories.
Well, these weren't random stories. This was just history lessons, Scoundrel. But it doesn't matter because we've got two fantastic teams biting for that final position in the challenge battles. And I'm not entirely sure who gets it, really, because Memento Mori, very strong. Team Queso, a very strong unit of players, but have obviously shown weaknesses so far in the VGL.
Well, Baron and Grace going to be the first two picks because of the Kestrel ban. It means Grumpjaw is available, but it is going to be the Grace and Samuel picked up as the duo for the side of Team Queso. A very strong combo. You can keep the Samuel alive forever if he gets himself into trouble. Between a Drifting Dark and having a Divine Intervention, it's very, very hard to take him down.
And the Kestrel ban comes out because Stefan 2 is known as a Kestrel one-trick and has performed excellently so far in the VGL when Kestrel is unlocked for them. So really just trying to put the pressure onto this jungler.
Great. So there's the Grumpjaw pick for the side of Memento Mori. It got pretty deep into the draft without being selected. And what will Queso decide to pick up as an answer to it? Right now, it's a very high burst damage composition for the side of Memento Mori, and it will be the Vox as the final pick for Team Queso. So again, we kind of get this sort of sustained versus burst damage matchup. Last game we saw very early on, the burst damage comp won, but this is a much more late game burst focus with the Baron pickup.
Scoundrel, last thoughts about these compositions? Obviously, some pile picks being picked up.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting one here. You've got a very, very strong Baron composition for the likes of Memento Mori. I don't know. I would personally favour Memento Mori because they have that range, and I don't know that if in the late game Samuel's range will be enough to deal with the Baron, with everything that he has to get through, the heal from the Lyra and the Grumpjaw. But let's see how it pans out as we go on to the Halcyon Fold, and I can mute my random steel drum going on in the background, and Dalsy and Tasty Bacon can take over.
That's odd. We can't hear that, so very interesting, but nonetheless, it is going to be this game here. I think the Grace takeaway was really, really well thought out by Queso, because Grace super strong when paired with Baron, like extremely strong, just prevents you from being able to jump on top of his face. But when you actually look at the composition that Queso have drafted, they haven't really drafted a composition that wants to jump on your face too much. Instead, they've drafted this composition who's going to just attempt to outdamage you in team fights from range.
I will say I actually really love Grace into Baron. On paper, you think, oh, it's not that strong because Baron can just jump out of her Holy Nova and he'll be perfectly fine. But there's a couple, actually, we'll have to hold on to that because right now they're fighting in the jungle.
Yeah, Duck goes in a lot of trouble. Stefantu chasing him forward, has that drifting Dark and is throwing it out. It will be able to disengage. Actually, Memento Mori going to disengage as well. In the lane, Kieran's taken a huge beating from Mr. Keiko, which is also just feeding into Queso's ability to put pressure on to this Baron early. See Mr. Keiko pushing the wave into the turret just to try and force Kieran to miss CS as much as possible, though I'm not sure he will. Team Queso really going to have to get this Samuel Grace kind of combo going early if they want to try and win the jungle hard.
Interesting decision appears to be going for the Protector's contract to start things off with this Grace. That is not one that we see all that commonly anymore. There was a time last update or two where pretty much all the contracts were being bought. You know, some captains even went double contracts to start games off, but not so much the case. Now they're going to be looking to go aggressive, trying to steal away some camps from this Grumpjaw. But again, they will be able to take those forwards, but that's not really going to be that detrimental to Memento Mori. Those front camps are not worth a whole lot of gold. If you steal them regularly, it can do quite a bit, and it does also secure them the Ancient Treant. So they will get a little bit out of their efforts on the side of Queso.
They will, and this game from Team Queso is making sure that this CP Grumpjaw isn't able to kind of have any influence early. CP Grumpjaw falls off way harder than Weapon Power Grumpjaw does. And so for the side of Memento Mori, they're going to use it to really kind of just bridge the gap between Baron and Grumpjaw early on, have Power Spike in the early to mid, and then a Power Spike in the mid to the late as it kind of transitions from jungler to carry. Memento Mori, they need to make use of this because Samuel and Vox scale very well into the late game and actually have a lot of opportunities to out-damage Baron in the late game as well.
All right, so Mr. K Cool now going to be taking a little bit of damage back from Kieran, but Kieran, every time he gets close to those minions, Mr. K Cool is going to get those resonance bounces onto him and cause a little bit of damage right back. As it's been pretty passive thus far, at least as far as the lane is concerned. There was one little jungle skirmish in the first minute or two, but other than that, both of these teams have just kind of been allowing the laners to farm up, and you can see it reflected in the CS numbers 36 to 41. A slight edge for Mr. Keiko, but that's about to diminish once Kieran finishes off these two minions, gets himself up to 40 because, as we all know, the gold is counted, or your CS is counted essentially by the gold of the minions, and so the large minions in the lane are actually worth 2 CS on your CS tracker.
There you go. I actually didn't know that counted towards your CS tracker in that way. So kind of interesting. I obviously understood that the goal difference was there, but didn't realize that they counted for two more,
Yep.
one more than the other one. So a little bit of trivia there. If you guys go to a Vainglory Halcyon Gathering and they have a trivia contest, then hopefully you can win some prizes from that one. Team Queso, a bit of pressure onto this turret. Drifting Dark goes out, chunks the turret down by 1/3 of its HP. And now Team Queso are going to position aggressively. They've got this Grace on the front line, which will be looking to try and just stop the Grumpjaw from doing too much work. Great sidestep there. PRZ with a knock-up. Look at the damage they can now output. Drifting Darks back up, and they're going to just throw out as much poke as possible. Kieran, though, is able to lay down a lot of harass. And if you actually look at Kieran on this Baron, he has done the complete opposite to Bongma Bu. He's maxing his B first and looking to try and overdrive his jump jets as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I mean, this is what you're supposed to do as a weapon baron, but right now, big fight.
Big fight. That's going to be a stun going out. Oblivion puts Baron to sleep, and it's going to be First Blood going over to Dark Ghost. Stefan2 taking these Mouse and Verdicts will be able to get away, but this turret is likely to fall to this damage that Team Queso are going to output. They are not going to tank it up. They have a minion wave just behind them, so that's not a problem to them. And Team Queso going to start getting the gold they need to try and have an edge over this Baron composition.
Yeah, getting that first turret is going to be huge. They actually leave it. The minions will be able to finish it just in time before the members of Memento Mori got there to save it. So excellent job with that Oblivion. Dark Ghost using that level 6 power spike to perfection. No one else on the map was level 6 at the time, so maybe catching Kieran and the rest of Memento Mori off guard a little bit. Able to find that first blood, first turret, and a almost about 1,500 gold lead as a result.
And now we'll have to see what Keiko decides to prioritize on this Vox. Clearly, there's plenty of Vox builds. You see, he's got the heavy steel, which means that he's likely to go towards a bit more damage, but maybe that could also be a breaking point. Not quite sure, but I'm basing that on the fact that there's a weapon blade in his inventory, so that's probably going to become a 6 sins, and then you get the Sorrow Blade. I think this was an error from the side of Hell's Flames when they ran the Vox into the Baron, is that they actually didn't give the Vox much damage, so his ability to contest the Baron's damage in the late game was really never there. So I am liking the start to the build from Mr. Keiko, but clearly there's a lot still to be revealed on that one.
Yeah, and it also will depend on a Dark Ghost with this Samuel picking up an early infusion already, just not even 8 minutes into this game. And Dark Ghost has an infusion in inventory. It'll be interesting to see when they decide to pop that and look for a fight. Mr. K-Cool has an active infusion ticking away as well, level 6. So Team Queso really wanting to find these early fights, able to counteract the burst damage with just having these infusions early fighting.
Kieran taking a lot of damage, but they are going to swallow up this Samuel. Huge silence flies out, but they're going to get the Fountain out. Ghost losing his life, but the Fountain will keep him alive, and that's going to be Stefan2 going out. Kieran gets put to sleep, and he is down for the count. It's Mr. Team Queso just playing so great, knowing their limitations on these heroes, and really just putting the pressure onto Memento Mori, who haven't had any impact with this Grumpjaw early.
And PRZ doing a great job keeping himself alive, uses the reflex block to tank up that final turret shot that would have killed him otherwise. And then Ping 6 immediately uses the ultimate onto himself. Not sure if that was really necessary, given they were about to recall, but it's a fairly short cooldown. It will be available within 40 seconds, so it should be back up before another team fight does break out. And Team Queso absolutely starting to run away with this one a little bit. Not only 9 minutes in and only a 3,000 gold lead, but the amount of momentum and map pressure that they are going to have with 2 turrets already being down is immense.
It is, and they can continue looking to push this advantage further at this point, because Kieran has only completed his second damage item. That is not enough for Baron to be influential. Stefantu somehow has not finished his Aftershock at 9 minutes, which is terrible. And a gold mine is being started up. Memento Mori, this is a huge mistake because this not only can be stolen away, but it can open up a fight. It does get stolen, and that's going to be a kill. That's going to be in a silence, but the reflex comes out from It's a New Day, the Crucible, to keep Kieran alive. He has his jump jets, should be able to escape, and he does. But what a huge misjudgment of positioning and damage coming out of Memento Mori to even consider starting up that gold miner.
Yeah, it felt like maybe a little bit of a desperation play from Memento Mori trying to make that happen. This third turret is going to fall sub 10 minutes.
The stun from PRZ stops the stuff from coming out, and that's going to be turret falling down. Grace is just so strong into melee heroes, and you're just starting to see exactly why. PRZ with a nice little play.
So 4 kills to 0, and now 3 turrets destroyed. Team Queso are just absolutely controlling the pace of this game and keeping Memento Mori on their heels. And Grace, I started to talk about a little bit earlier about why Grace is actually really good into Baron as well as all the melee heroes. One of the big strengths of Baron is his ability to move throughout the fight with those jump jets and have that massive burst damage. If you just wait for the jump jets to come out, as soon as the jump jets are started, you use Benediction on Grace, and you will get yourself a full holy shield and the directional shield on your allies.
Wow, you have to make this point another point. Yeah, it's going to be Stefantu knocked up here. Lots of damage coming out, but Keiko gets the heal. The silence goes out, and that's going to be another kill going over. It's a New Day. He's likely to fall as well as he tries to keep Kieran alive, but he can't. A double goes over to Dark Ghost, and it's going to be Mr. Keiko chasing on down to try and take out this Lyra. She gets a heal. She gets movement speed. She is out. What can they get? The Crystal Sentry looking pretty juicy.
Yeah, Crystal Sentry absolutely will be the target. To finish that point, the directional shield will follow wherever the target moves to. And so if you get the direction, if you use Benediction on Baron, when he jump jets, the directional shield will follow him, and your teammates then have a 40% damage reduction against Baron for the next few seconds when he throws out that double rocket shot. So it's super, super strong against heroes like Baron. And it's one of the reasons why Team Queso is able to win these team fights so decisively. Baron just cannot have the impact that you generally expect and need this pick to have.
Very strong hero, this Grace. Has consistently been a very strong hero, and is continuing to be so as well. Let's see how Team Queso continue putting the pressure on, because they have been doing a fantastic job of really just ramping up the pressure consistently. And this is kind of goes back to that point earlier about Hell's Flames versus XL, the second game specifically, where they had an early lead, they had a really good early game comp. Well, they actually pressured really hard early as well. Weren't afraid to take turrets, and look at this, they're just continuing to try and take fights wherever possible. The gold miner being the catalyst of baiting Mori in. Mori must know that they can't really contest the gold miner without being chunked right down. So, yeah, right now, there's almost nothing they can do because they're waiting on Kieran to get his second damage item. He is about 400 gold away from that, and that's going to obviously help a lot, but it almost seems like it's too little too late because of how far behind Stefantu is as well.
Yeah, definitely not looking very good as they find
engage? It's just so easy to kill them. Stefantu loses his life. It's a New Day. He's going to lose his life as well. The Frostburn will keep him in place, and it just leaves Kieran all by himself. Oh, okay. I say he's going to lose his life. It does eventually, but that was a little bit of an error from Team Queso to kind of let him get that far. And Dark Ghost actually almost dies for it as well. Kind of just trusted that the Madison Verdict would connect.
I was going to say, like, PRZ has his ultimate. He can just heal Dark Ghost while they were fighting that sentry, but waited a very long time before actually going and using that cooldown. And again, you have to kind of question the decision-making from Memento Mori there. Stefantu, there's no reason for them to go looking in for that fight. Kieran was nowhere close Savantu is only sitting on the Aftershock as far as damage is concerned. Like, they're not going to be able to win that at any, in any sense. So it's just very curious decision-making from a Memento Mori at this stage of the game with how much of a deficit they are looking at.
Deficit is currently 7,000 gold. We're 30 seconds away from getting the Kraken online. This Baron has hit 3 damage items. Doesn't seem like it's really going to be enough to change the tides of this game, but perhaps we see a huge chunk of burst onto a priority target. The build from Team Queso very respectful, though, of the damage that can be outputted. Mr. Keiko has armor. He has shielding as well with the Aegis. Finished his build. Oh, no, he hasn't actually, but he's about to with the 1800 gold build. That monocle, goes for the TT instead, the Tornado Trigger. So obviously wanting a lot of attack speed. The crit kind of helps as well. Odd that he hasn't gone Breaking Point. Seems a little bit weird to me, but here comes the fight. They're going to swallow up Dark Ghost, but I don't think he's really going to be threatened at all by this Baron. They're going to pop him out in the middle of the fight, and Kieran's just gone over the wall. Lots of damage being thrown out. The Oblivion goes over blind. Team Queso not able to find a kill, it seems. And yeah, that was a little bit odd from Team Queso. They didn't really have the focus that we've seen from them in previous fights.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't lose really anything off that, though, so it's not going to cost them. But they didn't gain any further ground. Kraken is obviously on the fold, has been for about a minute now. So I would expect Team Queso to maybe look to try and push the issue at the Kraken, try and force a fight, or basically say to Memento Mori, you either need to come and fight us, or we're just going to get a free Kraken and push in onto your base where you only have the 2 crystal turrets remaining to defend yourself from a game 1 defeat. So right now, Team Queso in the middle of the map, looking to maybe try and catch Savantu, who's going to get that speed boost from the Lyra. However, Team Queso, they're just going to chase this down. You have to assume they're going to look for a fight.
They don't even need to chase it. They've just put Mori in a terrible position because Mori, if they want to escape, they have to go towards Queso. They swallow up Dark Ghost, but Dark Ghost is going to be happily spat out to safety. Silence goes out. Stefantu jumps in, but he just doesn't have the damage. He's getting chunked right out and down. Kieran moves forward. The rest of Queso go on to Kieran. He's trying to get a position, but that's going to be the divine intervention, keeping Dark Ghost alive. Mr. Keiko, the Oblivion stops up everyone. Dark Ghost to genius just prevents Memento Mori any chance of taking down Mr. Keiko, and that is likely to be the ace as Mr. Keiko finishes things off. They're just going to look to finish the game. 23 seconds on Kieran. I think they get at least 2 turrets, but it might be risky to go for a full-on finish. They're going to have to blow up Kieran and Stefantu on spawn.
I think they're going to be perfectly fine for finding the finish with the ace buff minions coming in after they take this first turret. The respawns are going to come through, but they're so healthy. Their damage is so high. And this is going to be the game for Team Queso. Dominant performance in game number 1 of this best of 3.
Very nice stuff from Queso, as they tend to play very cleanly, usually, from the team, especially with Mr. Keiko moving into this carry position. It has been a pretty big difference for them. You know, their loss against Isuba, a very kind of evenly matched. Isuba probably should have been a lot higher up in the seeding, but obviously weren't due to the fact their solo queue rankings were lower. And so perhaps synergy issues there as well. The team were quite newly drafted. Either way, they're going to be very happy with that first win. And for the side of Memento Mori, going to be really considering the draft in the next game, Excandro.
Yes, indeed, Dalsey. Sorry, you caught me a little bit off guard there. I was just about to update the scores, which I'll do now. Tasty Bacon. What were the major things that went wrong there for Memento Mori? Or was it just a case of the fact that this was a good early executed composition from Team Queso?
That was the large majority of it. Team Queso knew exactly what they were looking to do, and they executed on it perfectly. They completely shut down that Grumpjaw. I mean, not having the Aftershock until after 9 minutes into the game, absolutely devastating. They just were never really able to get off the ground for the side of Memento Mori, and Team Queso, they never took their foot off the pedal. They were constantly applying pressure, constantly looking for more advantages to pick up, and as a result, they just were denying gold from their opponents all game long.
Absolutely. We're going to wait to see if these guys are ready to go. Looks like they are they're getting a bit itchy in the in-game chat here. Tasty Bacon don't seem like they can hold it. I'm going to make them wait just a little bit longer because I want to show the wonderful API screen that we have here from vgpro.gg. It's in conjunction with, shows the stats of all of the players and obviously everybody on either side of the squads. You can see all their solo queue rankings, some of the heroes they perform the best on. Really, really cool little piece of kit that they have offered us up here. We're going to get on with the draft then, if they are ready.
It looks like they are going to be ready to get themselves into the draft. I know it definitely looks like the members of Memento Mori are anxious to get themselves started. And so we should be hopping on into this one very shortly. Memento Mori, they've got to be feeling antsy to get into this one because they're going to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder after getting absolutely demolished in game number 1. And hopefully for them, they will have a better performance in game number 2.
Yes, so here we go. I'm going to get underway with this draft. And we'll wait to see as this progresses what happens in this portion of the game. Remember, these do or die moments for both of these teams here. Team Queso now taking A side, and it will be Memento Mori taking B side. Tausi, you are back.
I was never gone.
Yeah, you weren't. You were never gone.
Just being nice and silent and allowing the excellent analysis from yourself and Tasty Bacon.
I was just memeing the guys in chat.
Yeah,
they according to Memento Mori, casters don't need breaks in between series, and we should do them consistently on the trot. So, take that as you will.
Well, when the games go as quickly as the last one just did, then we don't need as much of a break.
Oh, Tasty Bacon. Okay, no, that's not right. Anyway, we're gonna go on. Idris comes through here for Memento Mori. Grumpjaw prioritized by Team Queso.
Yeah, well, there we're gonna get an Idris.
I want to know what this Grumpjaw is planned for, because you're all screaming about Idris and everyone's gonna make the joke about Dalsy, but I actually think that letting Grumpjaw weapon power is really strong into Idris and just shuts down.
I think
Idris completely.
Any melee bruiser who can soak damage quite well is pretty good into Idris if it's weapon power Idris. If it's CP Idris,
it could be CP Idris.
Yeah.
And if it's CP Idris, then actually it just pressures the Idris and shuts him down as early as possible. I think weapon power Grumpjaw obviously easily countered, but into certain heroes is super strong, and weapon power Grumpjaw needs gold. He needs to get to his burst point early because that's when he can start snowballing games in favor. So you put Grumpjaw in the lane, get him as much gold as possible. He's happily farms, happily damages with his B. I wonder if that's going to be the case. Either way, we have dropped out of the draft. Not entirely sure what the issue is there, but we'll fix it soon.
I think it was Dark Ghost, because Dark Ghost was gone when I sort of jumped back to the lobby. Sorry if you guys saw the lobby. Unfortunately, that caught me a little bit off guard. But draft.
Sorry if you guys saw that.
Sorry if you guys saw that. Wish you did. Draft is now back underway. Draft will stay. I requested if draft would stay the same up until this point. So.
Yeah, and you can see teams have sped through it. We'll have to see what Queso decide here. Catherine certainly really good at just locking Idris down. And it is going to be a Celeste coming through. So either way, it's going to be a weapon-powered Grumpjaw. Just whether or not they put it into the jungle or the lane is the question. I personally think that I would prefer to see a weapon-powered Grumpjaw in the lane and Celeste in the jungle. But that's pretty new meta. That's pretty off the cups scoundrel.
That's Dalsy level meta right there. I actually don't disagree though. I actually really do, because obviously it's well, actually, it's difficult to tell if it's going to be weapon power. You assume this is going to be weapon power Idris,
and
CP Blackfeather, but obviously those two heroes have the ability to flex between weapon power and CP. So There can be surprises yet. There can be surprises yet.
Lane Celeste going to come out from Mr. K. Cool. Which is okay. It actually pressures Weapon Power Idris a lot, so not too half bad. But being, the connoisseur of European meta that I am, I would have preferred to see it the other way around. That's just me though.
EU meta, boys. Right. As we head into the game, it is time for me to take a backbench and allow our front benchers the time in the spotlight. Dowsey and Tasty Bacon, take it away.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel. I'll be coming back for that warmed up seat later on. Don't know why we're going down the sports analogy. Tasty Bacon. I've talked about European meta. Being a Yank yourself, or at least living in the US, what are you feeling about this game?
I'm feeling that I really like the draft from Team Queso. I think as long as they can keep Mr. K Cool safe on the back lines, which Dark Ghost and PRZ should be able to get enough burst in onto the likes of Kieran and Safantu to maybe dissuade some of that aggression. I really like the Catherine pick. I think Catherine is incredibly underutilized at the moment.
Okay, I've just looked at it's a New Day's running away. He's going to live. I've just looked at what Memento Mori are doing. They're actually going the opposite of what is expected, and is pretty meta. They're taking the weapon power Black Feather and the CP Idris. So that's interesting.
Well, we know Scoundrel really loves the CP Idris. So he claims it is the strongest thing in the game at the moment, I believe. If
PLC's dead.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was looking at the lane. I was going to be like, let me keep an eye on this lane matchup. But that was a nice catch there from the members of Memento Mori. Appears he was kind of out on his own. Dark Ghost, going to have to be very careful here.
He's going to be all right. He has the backup of Mr. Keiko. He's going to lay down a lot of cover fire with those Helo Genesis. Is giving up a lot of farm, though. Over to Kieran, who's going to try and push that as quickly as possible into the turret. Idris, though, not really known for being able to do that very quickly. They're going to share gold between Dark Ghost experience as well. Not a good idea early. I don't think the reason they're doing this, they want to get Mr. Keiko to level 8 as quickly as possible, but it's going to put Dark Ghost behind and Stefantu ahead. Black Feather obviously able to snowball quite quickly on the weapon power tree. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just theory crafting, and because I've kind of tunneled on the fact that my ideas are correct, whether or not they are. I'm struggling to really throw any analysis at this game. So I'm going to just leave it to you, Tasty Bacon. That's kind of what our roles dictate anyway.
Well, they're going to be doing a lot of trying to get Mr. K Cool leveled up to 8 as quickly as possible, trying to get that range advantage. Yes, the Crystal Idris does become a range damage dealer, but it's not necessarily particularly long range, aside from the chakram. And so if Mr. K Cool gets that big range advantage, this will actually be really, really effective for the side of Team Queso. But PRZ needs to be a little bit careful. I mean, Catherine will do great things later on in this game, being able to reflect a lot of damage. Dark Ghost is going to be in a lot of trouble as well, but has the dash to get up underneath the turret. This is really Team Queso needs to be careful in the early game, but once we get to the mid to late game, that's when this composition is really going to start to shine.
For sure. And
or they can just find
another kill. Another kill going over. That was really weird. It's a New Day just kind of face tanked the damage, and well, that'll be him donezo. Got to respect that core collapse, of course. And the stun. Lots of lockdown, actually, from Team Queso. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing that Kieran's really going to struggle with on this CP address is avoiding core collapse and Merciless Pursuit. It's likely to be a Merciless Pursuit that's going to set up. I actually think CP address is really good into ground draw, weapon power, and CP because your Shimmer Strike, when you go down the CP route, gets the range extended when you jump out of it, which puts you in a nice safe position. And then you can use your Shroud Step to just kind of roll away, kind of just swag all over the fact that they tried to stuff you and you just walked away from it. So that element for Kieran makes him a little bit safer, but there is the core collapse and Merciless Pursuit to deal with.
Yeah, there's a lot of lockdown potential. They're going to be, again, PRZ just trying to get some stacks, trying to focus on building up that armor and shield. 2 armor, 2 shield per stack. And currently sitting on the 2 stacks a minute, which is right where you want to be at a baseline for a Catherine. So Doing it pretty good there. Once level 6 comes out, those stacks start to really build up even quicker. And we'll see. I mean, Mr. K Cool already up to level 5 is going to be trying again to get him to level 8 as quickly as possible. Experience advantage for the Celeste over the Idris. And Dark Ghost, despite sharing a lot of this farm with Mr. K Cool, is actually keeping up with Savantu in terms of experience and gold quite well.
And I think that's probably more of an issue of Stefantu, but Mr. Keiko is showing why Celeste really good into melee heroes. Idris actually has the gold to go complete his divergent paths and get a Frostburn online. So I'm not sure why he hasn't. Perhaps it's just the pressure that Team Queso are putting out. You really need to get that kind of set up as quickly as possible. It's huge for your changing the dynamics of your composition and power spike. And so I really want to see Kieran head to the shop now.
Yeah,
wants to.
That was very strange. I thought for sure once they cleared out that wave, they were going to rotate down to the jungle shop. But again, looking at this the decision from Team Queso, they aren't just hyper farming Mr. K Cool by sharing the experience and the passive gold. He's actually taking all of these last hits as well. I mean, there's 7 creep score for Dark Ghost, 84 for Mr. K Cool. And it's all going to Mr. K Cool. It's purely a hyper farm Celeste.
So that's why Kieran didn't want to go back. He wanted to go Shatter Glass on CP address. Not the worst of picks. Both Celeste and Grumpjaw are going to be fairly squishy. So the Shatter Glass is going to do a lot of work towards just really chunking through them with your auto attacks and your chakrams especially. Frostburn's going to be really useful though. So I will be interested to see if Kieran decides to pick that up later. We'll need to get himself attack speed next, unless he's really just looking for burst damage. Idris's empowered auto attacks in the CP build do a lot of damage, and that's kind of where you really want that alternating current to really get as much out. See a lot of poke coming out from Memento Mori as Team Queso unable to find a pick. Memento Mori looking like they just want to play very safely, get both this Idris and this Black Feather scaled up. That's going to become a big threat for Queso. I think they really want to try and start snowballing some gold their way as quickly as possible.
And Mr. K Cool just about level 8. Look at the items though. This power farming strategy has gotten him very, very well off. 2 completed tier 3 items under 7 minutes because he's had those for a little bit now. Absolutely incredible pace for this lane carry, but will it be enough? Will just that tension bow that Grumpjaw has be enough? Because Grumpjaw's going to be very far behind. They're going to rely a lot on the infusion. Here we go.
Stefantu dives in, does a bit of poke. Kieran rolling around these minefield, but is still getting chunked down. Going to be needing to go back soon. He has almost 2,000 gold, which is a lot. CP Idris is all about getting to your 3rd damage item as quickly as possible. So you're wanting to be shopping as regularly as possible, but this pressure game from Queso is it's pretty hard to deal with, and because of the ranged deficit that Stefantu and New Day have, Kieran's really the only one who's been allowed to clear these waves.
Mr. K Cool starting to really punish the members of Memento Mori. If they stick around too long, this turret is going to be falling.
Yeah. It was always going to be the case, and this fight breaking out is disastrous for Memento Mori. Good usage of the gauntlet will actually lock up Mr. Keiko. He might die here. Gets the fountain, but Kieran should be able to finish the job. Now it's going to be a turnaround, perhaps, for Memento Mori. PRZ and Dark Ghost, not the tankiest just yet. That's a double kill. Going over to It's a New Day. Not really the person who wanted it, but it doesn't really matter. That is huge for Memento Mori.
Absolutely. They're going to be able to turn around and answer, very likely pick up this turret because it's just PRZ here to defend. Big gauntlet to turn that around, really. If that gauntlet doesn't come out and doesn't lock both PRZ and Mr. K Cool inside of it, then very likely it ends up being a double kill for Team Queso because they had gotten the stuff onto Savantu, but it ended up just being isolated, just Dark Ghost without having much damage against Safantu, and Safantu was able to easily Rose offensive himself out to safety and help pick up the kill for the side of Memento Mori. So big turnaround, keeping the gold very, very close.
It is close, but actually it's not. When you start looking deeper into the details, Kieran has farmed perfectly on Idris so far. Now, if you look at the CS deficit, obviously there's one because of the fact that Mr. Keiko has been hyper farmed, but Stefantu is also doing a really good job in the jungle. So yes, there is a even amount of gold, but there really isn't because it's not balanced around the side of Team Queso. It's all on Mr. Keiko. They've hyper farmed him. And it's all on Mr. Keiko to carry now. Kieran has finished his Broken Myth. He's gone Shatterglass, Broken Myth. So he's not actually aiming to be a typical CP Idris. He's trying to be a bit more of a caster, a bit of a mage in that he wants to blow people up. There is a flank coming. But look at the damage that he puts out onto Mr. Keiko with just a single chakram. This is huge. And Stefantu's looking to try and finish the job. Stefantu's run on the back line. He's very, very low. Gets the heal. But that's going to be Mr. Keiko trapped by Kieran. And he's going to finish the job on that one. The gauntlet keeps everyone in for the count. And that might be Stefantu going down. But it's just going to be a triple kill going over to Kieran. Huge damage. The Broken Myth fully stacked up. And this is starting to look like a Memento Mori turnaround.
It absolutely is. And I love the decision making from Memento Mori. They recognized they were going for this massive, hyper farm Mr. K-Cool. He's going to be very, very squishy because he's not building much defense. But it was also just an early game focus as a result. Like they wanted to get Mr. K-Cool farmed up as quickly as possible to make this huge impact. Members of Memento Mori recognized this and bought themselves early infusion. It was a level 6 and a level 9 infusion that were active during that fight for the members of Memento Mori, and they were able to counteract the early damage of what Team Queso were looking for. Again, Grumpjaw's entirety of his damage was relying on the tension bow and the weapon infusion, but that was being countered by the infusions on the side of Memento Mori. So they were able to get that big damage onto Mr. K-Cool, and they know if they can just kill Mr. K-Cool, it doesn't matter how much they have to sacrifice in order to find that kill, they will be able to win the team fight because of the entirety of Team Queso's damage.
Yeah, Memento Mori have done a good job of really countering what Team Queso want to do here. Team Queso are going to be on the back foot for the rest of the game. They're really going to rely on blowing up Kieran. And I'm not sure how they do it because of the fact that Stefantu and It's a New Day have really been putting pressure onto Keiko without Kieran necessarily needing to be too far close to the fight. One chakram hits and it's go time for Memento Mori. And they're going to... they've got Echo. Okay, and It's a New Day's prioritized Echo. I actually don't think he needs it. I think he could have just got War Treads and he would have been okay. But the Echo means that there's a double gauntlet that's going to come down, and that's just going to force Mr. Keiko into an even tighter corridor for Kieran and Stefantu to finish the job.
Yeah, that's all about just lockdown, getting onto that back line. And that's what really both teams need to be focusing on, but Memento Mori doing a lot more to get themselves into those positions where they can dive Mr. K-Cool and take him out of the fight. We'll see how effective they'll be as they push up again. All 6 players here in the lane with no turrets in the immediate vicinity. It's a very volatile situation, but it will just be Team Queso backing off, rotating down to shop. Dark Ghost and Mr. Keiko, they need to be careful.
Oh, they've been caught out here. Kieran does take a lot of damage, but he just throws that Shimmer Strike out, and they're going to take down this Grumpjaw as quickly as possible. One gauntlet goes out, a second goes down. They're trapped in between the Crystal Sentry, but it is doing a lot of damage, and Kieran's still alive. Mr. Keiko, in fact, is still alive, is what I mean to say. This is not as good as Memento Mori wanted. That Echo really did nothing, which is kind of the problem. War Treads would have been more effective. It's very easy to get baited into flashy plays, Tasty Bacon, but sometimes simple things are simple for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea behind the Echo, but like you said, just not really having much effect. The second gauntlet went down and didn't land onto Mr. K-Cool. I really feel like one of those 2 gauntlets needs to land directly onto him for it to be effective. Instead, it just gave him a smaller area to maneuver around in, but he was so far back that the rest of the team wasn't able to get onto him, so they didn't have, he had no reason to move once the second gauntlet went down. He was on the back lines. There was a Crystal Sentry in the way. There was a Grumpjaw and a Catherine in the way. He just threw out that Solar Storm, did a ton of damage. And at the end of the day, it ended up just being a 2 for 2.
So here's a little bit of a history lesson for you guys. I've casted a number of games, probably could count them on two hands though, of times when I've seen teams hyperfarm a Celeste. And it doesn't matter how good your Celeste is, they've lost pretty much every time. And when I say it doesn't matter how good their Celeste is, I'm talking Leon being the person being hyperfarmed, because, you know, I've seen Team Secret attempt to do it. They hyperfarm the Celeste and it doesn't work out. They actually repeated their composition, absolutely repeated it. The second time, the only difference was that they didn't hyperfarm the Celeste. They didn't give all the gold to Leon. They gave some over to, I'm trying to remember if it was Tricky at the time, I think was the jungler choice for them.
No, Tricky never played jungle for them.
Well,
it would have had to have been I'm the Doom or I can't remember who they had jungling before then.
Tricky and I believe Tricky and Doom. It doesn't matter. Like
they had a different jungler and split one.
is that when they changed their strategy, they won the game because the jungler had impact just as much as Celeste did. So I think that's just like a lesson to be learned, that farming a Celeste it sounds like a good idea, but it doesn't win you games actually very often. Here's a good opportunity, good block and stuff, going to hold things up. Oh, the stuff missed. That's huge. The gauntlets are going down. PRZ is losing his life. What can they do here? Team Queso need to land the damage onto Kieran, but Mr. Keiko's been isolated by Kieran, and he is going to go down. Does find a kill, though. And It's a New Day is very low, but the 2 kills going over to Stefantu as that all happened does mean that the fight has been won by Memento Mori, and a Kraken should be taken.
The fight was won by Memento Mori, but it should have been an ace. There should have been a much cleaner team fight. For some reason, Memento Mori are still trying to focus down Dark Ghost and PRZ instead of putting everything onto Mr. K-Cool. And it was really only Kieran that ended up in a one-on-one situation with Mr. K-Cool, was able to win out that trade, ended up actually falling at the end of it. But now PRZ maybe looking to try and contest this Kraken. It's a New Day, needs to be careful. He's going to go low. Svantu is going to have Kraken stolen. PRZ able to pick it up, and the rest of the team is alive while the members of Memento Mori have to recall. So just like that, Team Queso going to be looking to get themselves some nice pressure.
Absolutely. This is huge for Queso. Really saves the day for them. They're not going to get completely pushed in right now. It doesn't necessarily turn the tides, and we'll have to see if they can keep themselves alive as Mr. Keiko gets engaged upon. Good stuff onto the Catherine. Can they blow someone up is the question. There's the Shimmer Strike, there's the Chakram, but they've taken out Stefantu, and Kieran's now the target. He finds 1 kill. It's onto Mr. Keiko. That is disastrous. That's going to be a double to him and a triple. Easy as pie. And that's now going to be this Kraken taking on down. They only should lose 1 turret in the process. It goes back to that point of hyper farming. Dark Ghost still hasn't finished his 2nd damage item.
Yeah, and when they put all the focus onto Mr. K-Cool, it just becomes a very easy fight. Again, the double gauntlet, it didn't come out that time, but when it does go down, Mr. K-Cool is stuck in a very small spot, and they can very easily try and jump onto him and just take him out completely. As long as they have that focus and that priority target, all 3 members going after Mr. K-Cool, there's nothing he is going to be able to do to survive against that. And there's, again, no threat from Dark Ghost to prevent them from just going all in onto Mr. K-Cool. A very easy and clean ace picked up that time around by Memento Mori.
Absolutely. And they should continue winning fights like this. Unless Mr. K-Cool manages to position like a boss. Dark Ghost is finishing his defensives, but I really don't think that is his priority right now. He just needs to be a little bit more of a damage threat, so that Team Queso can kind of relieve some pressure onto Mr. K-Cool. Mr. K-Cool is doing a bit of damage when he sets up these minefields, can really start to burst down Stefantu and Kieran. But he's pushing very far forward, and look at that, half health. Fountain goes out, but that's a great stop onto the captain. Stops that gauntlet from going down. The Echo might be able to get another one out, and he does pop it, so the gauntlet is back up. I wonder if Team Queso will think it's there is the question, but they might be able to just catch Mr. Mori. It's a New Day out again. Yeah, the gauntlet gets stopped again. This is really great for Team Queso. I don't think they get the kill, but they have completely shut down the ultimates from Memento Mori.
Yeah, 2 gauntlets getting canceled in rapid succession is pretty impressive by the side of Team Queso. But now Memento Mori, they're going to look to try and chase it down. Mr. K-Cool keeps his cool around him and gets himself recalled and out of harm's way. Kraken should be respawning any second now. Memento Mori does at least have the advantageous positioning on the map for this objective, but they're going to give that up as they rotate up a little bit, maybe look for an opportunity, but they're going to want to wait at least 30 seconds, you got to figure, for that gauntlet to be available again.
And this game is going much longer than I expected. I wonder if this is due to Queso's ability to prolong or just a weakness of closing out from Memento Mori. Feels like Memento Mori should have finished by now. They had Idris online way earlier. Stefantu's getting bursted. That's going to be the captain knocked down once more, and they're going to take him completely out of the fight. Kieran's going to move forward to try and chase down, but Mr. Keiko is positioning very nicely, not taking any damage. Dark Ghost might lose his life, but they've stopped the gauntlet once more. Dark Ghost goes down. Can Keiko stay alive is the question. Core Collapse coming back up in just a second. Pops it, stuns both, but won't be able to find a kill. And PRZ, oh, he's just a Catherine. He has a bubble. He has a Storm Guard, banner guard, bubble. Wow, I can't get words out, but it's not enough to blow anyone up. Ace comes through from Memento Mori. They are going to take the Kraken now, and it is seeming very dim for Queso in the second game.
Yeah, absolutely is. And now, I mean, one of the reasons why this game is taking so long was that Kraken Steel did delay quite a bit of time off of this game. Memento Mori are going to be able to take this one cleanly, though, as Dark Ghost is the first one to respawn, and he's just coming up now. Not going to be able to stop this. Kieran has gone and pushed a couple of turrets as well. So Kraken will only have 2 turrets to work through when it does finally get unleashed. The ultimate from Mr. K-Cool comes flying by, doesn't hit anything other than Kieran on the way. And that's with Kraken unleashed, the team healing up, and the members of Memento Mori going to be setting up, looking for another fight. They have all cooldowns available. We'll see if a gauntlet can actually get put up this time around, as the last 3 in a row have been blocked by Team Queso, but this is becoming a very dire situation.
So they keep swallowing It's a New Day up. It makes sense. You want to try and remove the captain from the map. I wonder if they need to start focusing on someone else. Stefantu, Kieran could both be viable options for sure. I don't think you're ever going to get Kieran, so it's really Stefantu. Either way, this is the last hurrah for Team Queso. They either defend now and keep themselves in the game with a chance of coming back as Dark Ghost starts scaling up, or they lose out and we go to game 3. K-Cool trying to set up some damage. They're going to swallow up the captain. They need to blow up Kieran now. No, they go away from Kieran. That is not the place you need to be. Blast Tremor goes out. It only silences up the captain. They're losing their lives as we speak. Good. Solar Storm will force everyone back, but there is the gauntlets flying down. Mr. K-Cool dipping and diving. He's dodged them all, but he's going to lose his life now, and that's going to be Kieran picking up the kill. Dark Ghost goes down. It's a double to Kieran, and he's looking to find another triple. Does secure it, and Ace comes out for Memento Mori, and we're heading to Series 3, Game 3.
Excellent job by Memento Mori, able to capitalize on the situation. Maybe some mistakes there from the side of Team Queso as well. I mean, when you eat a target like It's a New Day, you have to go in and try and blow up Kieran. That's your opportunity. When there's no Fountain, there's no Vanguard, there's no Crucible, there's nothing to save him there other than his own abilities. And instead they go the opposite way. Just a very big misuse of the Grumpjaw ultimate. And again, the hyper farming with Celeste once more not going to work out. Dark Ghost never even finished a second offensive item that game in 23 minutes. That is just a really, again, just makes your jungler have to be very ineffective as a result.
Yeah, no, and as you mentioned, they needed to blow up Kieran there. They had an opportunity, but they didn't take it. That is the point of swallowing up the captain, like you mentioned, is that you have a chance to do a lot of damage to and try and blow up one of the individual members before a Fountain, Atlas, Crucible can fly out. Either way, Queso, they put all their eggs in one basket, and that basket gets dropped. The eggs crack, and now we're going to Game 3 at Scoundrel.
Yes, we are. Game 3 is on the cards between these two teams. The winner will play Infiltration, by the way, and that will be the next series of the day. I have to completely agree with you, Darcy, in the sense that I have never seen a hypercarry Celeste composition work. I think they are bad. I think outright hypercarry Celeste compositions are bad. Unless you are a Celeste god, like who literally misses absolutely nothing, you have to miss absolutely nothing to make those compositions good. And with the fact that we have got so many heroes in Vainglory that are good against Celeste in the meta right now, Weapon Power Blackfeather, Idris, both of which were picked up by Memento Mori, it makes it far too hard to survive as a Celeste.
I just watched that fight back. Not only didn't Team Queso take the opportunity after they swallowed up It's a New Day to go in and take down Kieran, but before they swallowed up It's a New Day, they actually had Kieran locked up in a core collapse and completely ignored him. Target priority from Team Queso wasn't there. They didn't make usage of the hyper farm Celeste, and it's very hard to. Even the best of players, when they get hyper farmed on Celeste, fail to win games. Man, this needs to be changed. This is the weakness from Team Queso that we saw from Isuba. Perhaps a level of cockiness or overestimating their abilities. I want to see something a little bit more standard from them in the next game, because I genuinely think that they're a better team than Memento Mori.
There is one final point I actually want to make about this game, and that is with the Hyper Farm Celeste, there comes a point where at some point you do need to give some gold or some farm back to the jungler at the end of the game. Mr. K-Cool actually had 19,000 gold total throughout the whole course of the game. His build cost 15,000. And so at some point, like, that's just gold that is going to someone who is full build, while Grumpjaw is still struggling to get items.
So we're into the next draft. Memento Mori get their hands on Idris already.
No.
And they pick Baron right into it. They pick Baron right into it, and you can hear Dalsey not very happy with the outcome of this draft already for Team Queso.
Baron encounters... Idris counters Baron. Kieran... Okay, we dropped Dark Ghost there, so unfortunate. But Idris... Kieran is a good Idris. Like, we know that. And people know that as well. People know that Kieran's a good Idris. They were a little bit surprised that they've been banning Idris in these drafts so far at Scoundrel. But clearly on A side, they banned Grace Raba because they don't want to. They don't want that hero to be played. They don't want it to be picked up against the Idris, and they pick up the Baron, the Idris. Baron locked into it straight away. It's unnecessary. You don't have to pick your Baron up straight away because you've got 2 picks. You could have considered the composition, but it seemed like Mr. Keiko was very quick to jump. Baron's open. I want Baron, and I think this could be a problem for Team Queso going forward, especially if Kieran starts hitting those late game power spikes like he was in the previous game.
Absolutely. We're just waiting for Ghost to get ready to join the lobby again. There was just a problem with Dark Ghost being able to lock in a hero. Just going to let them know the really basic advice of restarting the application. I'm just going to wait to see if that's all ready. So we're heading into this game. This is big for Team Queso, a team that has a lot of anticipation around them. But if Memento Mori can take the win here, then that is really good for a team of their caliber as well. I mean, we're getting to the point in VGL where big matches are starting to occur, and they have sort of huge impact on the standings.
Oh, for sure. Like, the winner of this matchup, like you mentioned, goes on to face Infiltration T1, a team that is likely to lose to either of these two teams. So, because these two teams have been knocked down into the losers bracket, Memento Mori lost to Waves, who was a higher seed for them. Team Queso shouldn't be here. This is two teams that should be in the playoffs, or potentially in the playoffs, losing out of that opportunity. And I think for Team Queso, it will be disastrous for them as far as community reputation is concerned if they were to lose against Memento Mori here.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we're into draft. Draft remains the same. Ghost wanted to pick Arden. I think people could kind of see that on the screen that he was trying to lock it in. We're going to see the response now from Memento Mori. Catherine, who has been creeping her way back into the meta. given the buffs to Heroic Perk now means it's a lot more beneficial to get those stacks. You get double the armor and shielding. She can become quite a tanky frontliner at the end of the game. It's going to be Grumpjaw, Catherine, and Idris here. And that's going to be, again, the flex between CP Idris and Power Idris is being hovered that we're probably going to have a weapon power Grumpjaw in the jungle and a CP Idris in lane.
And weapon power Grumpjaw is so good into Baron as well. So you've got CP Idris, who's good into Baron. You've got weapon power Grumpjaw, who's good into Baron. You've got Lockdown coming out of the Catherine. A Skye for Dark Ghost. Skye, very, very strong hero if you can play her well. We saw Cortez just absolutely demolish his opposition with Skye. Team Queso better throw some miracle mechanics and decision making and macro rotations out here because they have been outdrafted.
Well, you have it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Dalsey has told everybody that Team Queso have been outdrafted. And I do not disagree, actually, to be honest. I don't disagree with him. I think Weapon Power Grumpjaw, again, said excellent into Baron. The one thing that I think is a saving grace is that Skye. I think she's pretty solid into Grumpjaw in general, and if she can get good position onto CP Idris, got good Suri strike mobility to dodge those chakrams, so that could be something that we see come into play here for Skye. It all does kind of rest on Dark Ghost Skye, however. He is a very good Skye player. So as we head onto the Halcyon Fold, Tasty Bacon and Dalsey, this is the final match for Team Queso and Memento Mori.
Man, VGL brings out emotion in me. Tasty Bacon that other leagues doesn't, because I play against a lot of these players. I know a lot of these players, and I know what they're capable of. So when I see them perhaps not performing to standards that I would set them, and perhaps they would set themselves, it's kind of like a disappointed father almost type of level of emotion. And both these teams very strong. All of these players are very strong. But to see an outdraft like this in a ultimative game that is this series between Memento Mori and Team Queso is very, very interesting.
Yeah, it really is a much stronger draft from Memento Mori, but it will still come down to execution at the end of the day. You know, there is still the potential for the members of Team Queso to outplay their opponents. And after game one, I would have said, well, they can still be feeling pretty comfortable. But after game two, we saw, there is the possibility for Team Queso to even get outplayed in these team fights. And if that happens even slightly, Memento Mori will have a massive advantage just because of their team composition. I mean, the Catherine, I think, is a beautiful pick into this draft as well. The obviously does very well against Baron because the splash damage is unavoidable. And if you can get in front of the Skye, if she's dealing enough damage, every tick of the forward barrage will also send out reflected damage. So it's this can be a very tough game for Team Queso if they're not careful.
The one hero that I probably would have swapped Catherine for would be Baptiste. Lock down the Skye a little bit easier, perhaps even lock down the Baron earlier. Because I'm not sure. I'm not sure how well Catherine really works into Skye. Like Skye's not going to be standing too close to the bubble. This is a lot of damage coming out of Dark Ghost. Kieran in a bit of trouble. The Series Strike flies over, but doesn't quite connect. Yeah, like Dark Ghost is going to keep his distance, and it's only going to be PRZ who's really going to be affected by that bubble from the Catherine.
Yeah, but it's still that's still damage that you're dealing to your teammates as a result if the bubble is up. So
it is and it isn't. Like it's more likely to do more damage if she uses it to try and soak up Baron's auto attacks.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely you want to use it to soak up the Baron attacks. Like, the Skye damage, if it even does trigger the Stormguard bubble, it's by a very small amount. So that's not the main use. I was just throwing it out there as it's still a possibility, but you definitely want to be using it against the Baron mostly.
So as we have this game go on, Team Queso in a fairly solid position as Dark Ghost pretty much just preventing any engagement so far out of the side of Memento Mori. Stefan too looking to get that okay, Kieran dies. Never mind, that's Dark Ghost finding a fantastic forward barrage and Mr. Keiko just finishing the job.
All right, so early kill for Team Queso, maybe.
Ooh, almost loses his life. Mr. Cake will use those jump jets to safety. Can Dark go snipe? Oh, not quite quick enough. That is very close.
And very, very close. But for now, still an edge for Team Queso, able to get that first blood bonus and also getting a lot of damage done onto that turret. And it means if they can just repeat that play one more time, they should be able to get that first turret advantage as well.
Okay. Good start for Team Queso. Having that early lead over Kieran is huge. Dark Ghost, the one thing that he wasn't able to do last game was put any pressure onto CP Idris, as he was giving all his gold over to Mr. K Cool and didn't have any damage to him. This game, though, he is going to be having lots of gold over to him because Sky needs it just as much as Baron does. And if they hold Kieran back, then they're going to open up the window of opportunity to shut down CP Address and keep Baron in the game. Now, when I say that this is an outdraft, I certainly still believe it is, but outdraft doesn't mean that it's game loss. Like, let us not forget that your macro decisions, what you do in the game, really dictates it heavily as well. And that's going to be a good swallow up from Stefantu. It is on to Arden, though, and I think Arden should be happily able to escape. Founder gets popped. Oh, uses his Vanguard on himself, but that's okay. He just walks away, and that's pretty much shut down the engagement there from Mentomori. Not only that, they are looking not so healthy themselves. So running in and trying to find an engage is probably not on the top of their bucket list.
Nice chakram's going to do a lot of damage there. But yeah, Stefantu got the stuff. Though. Never mind. Actually, they're still fighting.
A Ghost able to kite nicely. Look at the damage coming out to Mr. Keiko. If they focus down Dark Ghost, then Mr. Keiko gets free damage. If they focus down Mr. Keiko, then Dark Ghost gets free damage. This is the beauty of Sky Baron, is that it looks like this turret may be losing its life on the next push. Like, Team Queso are doing a great job of putting the pressure onto the lane, and that's exactly where they need the pressure. They don't need any pressure to Grumpjaw. Grumpjaw's build is cheap. They can just hold Kieran back, then they're going to be good.
All right, well, they're going to be getting the damage onto this turret, almost taking it down, but just backing off at the right time. PRZ, though, in trouble.
Yeah, he's likely to lose his life here, as Mr. Keiko can't really do anything, and actually stepping forward was a risk, but a risk that a jump jets can prevent. Mr. Mentomori do find a kill for themselves. Does go over to Stefantu, and now for the side of Mentomori, they have an opportunity to get some damage onto this turret, but I'm not sure they're really going to get too much. Just maybe a couple chakrams.
Well, the chakram's doing a lot of damage to Mr. K Cool, but they are going to go ahead, back off, maybe make a trip down to the shop. Kieran's going to steal away this Treant, or at least try to. Dark Ghost blindly fires with the forward barrage, expecting it to happen, but wasn't able to predict where Kieran would be. But this is a great rotation from Queso.
Fantastic rotation, get the turret, and actually a dislike Kieran going down the same build path that he did previous game. I think it worked really well against Celeste. I don't think it's going to work as well into Sky and Baron. I think a Frostburn would be far more effective to slow down targets, really allow Stefan to just stick to them. And then you go down a alternating current broken myth. He's going to have far more damage. Being a mage in this game, not really going to be the answer. It was certainly good into Celeste, but I don't think it's as good into Baron and Sky.
All right. Well, we'll see if he can make it work. It's just the focus is just having that upfront burst damage, trying to just blow up Mr. K Cool, trying to throw out a chakram and dissuade an engagement entirely if it connects on the way out and back in. So I can see the potential for it, but I definitely agree. I think a little bit more utility focused would definitely help them out a bit, going for that Frostburn. But we'll have to see how they can make it work. Thus far, 1-1 in terms of the kills, but it is a gold lead for the side of Queso because of that first turret going down. And that's actually interesting. Going to be picking up the Atlas Pauldrons for It's a New Day. I'm actually not a huge fan of getting the Atlas Pauldrons against the Baron. He doesn't have a ton of attack speed to begin with. And so you're taking a small number and reducing it by 1% doesn't do as much.
All right, well, they take the gold miner, and now they're trying to take PRZ as well, but PRZ doesn't really care, and he just walks away, fairly dandy, pops his boots to really just get out as quickly as possible. Bit of an odd move there. I feel like you take out PRZ and then you charge into either Dark Ghost or Mr. Keiko, but charging into a Sky is a little bit hard, so I definitely appreciate that that might not be your preferred movement of choice. Either way, Team Queso very happy, confidently pushing the lane here as a Baron. Really just kind of opened up by the fact that they have Sky, who provides a little bit more forward front damage. Stefantu does dive in. Jump Jets goes out. There's the Gauntlet going to stun up Stefantu and a death from above as they get out. Oh, Stefantu gets bursted. Mr. Keiko can't quite find the damage to kill anyone, but this might just open up to a turret take for Team Queso. If only Chakram wasn't a thing.
Able to clear out those minions very quickly. And to your point about usually if you're gonna eat the captain, you want to charge in onto one of the carries. It's even more difficult because charging onto a Sky already difficult enough because of the forward barrage. There is no Frostburn for Dark Ghost. Went for an Eve of Harvest first item, but you also can't really charge in onto the Baron because he's just going to use those jump jets and put a lot more distance between himself and the rest of the team as well. So I really feel like the Stuffed is going to have to go after one of these two carries as we get later into this game.
Baron. Target Baron. Don't target this guy. She will just Series Strike away. As will Baron try and jump jets away, but if you take away Baron, then your damage output from Team Queso is just dropped hugely. So I don't know. It might be hard to target either one of those, but that's who I'd be aiming for. Well, I say that. Mr. Keiko almost gets swallowed. He does get swallowed. No, it's actually is this Sky. But what? She just goes like this. She puts a death from above up, forward barrages, and Kieran, he is struggling to take down Mr. Keiko by himself. He actually loses his life. Dark Ghost very safe. He is actually just forward barraging away, and if he needs to be, he will Series Strike to join his team. It's a New Day charges forward, does land a stun, but there's that Series Strike we talked about. And this should be also a turret getting nuked right down by Team Queso. It's a New Day charges forward. They're conscious of Stefano onto the side. He dives forward onto Mr. Keiko. He might find a kill. No, he does not. Never mind. Mr. Keiko able to turn that one right around. And now Queso will have to fall back because Kieran is making his way down the lane.
And it feels like Memento Mori just aren't really on the same page when this Grumpjaw goes in and gets a Stuffed. That time he picked up one of the carries, ran back with it, and you have to feel like there was an opportunity for them to just blow up that carry once they got spit out. But Kieran was instead on the front lines and trying to dive onto Dark Ghost, the remaining carry there. And so if you feel like if all three of them go after the same target, they should be able to blow them up and take them out, make it a 3-on-2 situation. Maybe they don't chase onto the other two because they have a lot of escape potential on the side of Team Queso, but you at least find that hill. You at least get yourself an advantage to let you pick up some jungle control or push the lane back, maybe take that first turret in the 3-on-2. But I really want to see Memento Mori start to move as a unit and make the same decisions as each other.
Yeah, no, they definitely aren't executing their composition as strongly as they did previously with the Black Feather and the Arden on their side. And it is making things look very nice and easy for Team Queso here, who are seeming to play their composition very well and will have to continue to do so if they don't want to fall behind. Kieran, though, is starting to build into his third damage item, is about 400, 500 gold away from hitting his alternating current. 3 damage items onto the Idris is a pretty scary fort. However, without the Frostburn, is going to not really have as much lockdown as he wants. Dark Ghost charges forward with Series Strike. Will look to just try and keep everyone at bay. Team Queso, though, are struggling to find opportunities to take this turret down. Perhaps might have to turn their attentions to other parts of the map, like the gold miner, who has just filled up.
Well, Memento Mori playing very defensively. Mr. K Cool stepped forward, just kind of takes a turret shot. And I mean, this is where Memento Mori needs to try and make sure that if they do go for an engage, which I'm glad that they didn't go for one in that particular instance, they have a fair bit of money to go and spend. Kieran's going to go finish off the alternating current. So 3-item Idris is online. It's just going to be a matter of can Memento Mori capitalize on that. It's a New Day. Needs to be careful that he doesn't get himself caught in a bad spot.
Yeah, Keiko dives right forward and knocks down a bit of Stefantu's health bar. Gauntlet going to separate everyone. They only really just get a treant for their troubles there, Team Queso. I'm going to go back to the lane, get some gold, of course, onto the Baron here. But have to see now where this one goes, because I'm not entirely sure what Memento Mori are doing. They're going for a gold miner, but this is actually just going to give the turret over to Team Queso. It seems a little bit like they haven't considered that. Now they need to fight. If they don't fight, then they've just lost out completely. But It's a New Day goes very low. They dive away from Stefantu. Oh, great Crucible blocks up the stuffed. And this is just going to be destruction. Kieran dives on in, but Kieran cannot escape Dark Ghost. Great forward barrage series strike combination. And now Team Queso could even take a second turret.
Yeah, really poor decision made by Memento Mori. I mean, you just saw the gauntlet get used. You know that's not available for a very long time. And they had a rotation on Team Queso. They could have come up behind them, forced them into that turret if they wanted to escape a team fight. Instead, they make that just very strange call to go for the gold miner. It gets them the nice payout, but they've just lost 2 turrets as an end result of this. So huge advantages going the way of Team Queso. And it's due to a lapse in judgment when it comes to the macro play by Memento Mori.
Yeah, they haven't really played this game to its win conditions at all. And despite having seemingly a stronger composition, when you don't play to your win conditions, Tasty Bacon, none of that seems to matter any. The team that does play to their win conditions and executes them will obviously win the game. Now, this is Vainglory. The Kraken has spawned, and a win in a team fight now for Memento Mori could turn the odds in their favor a great significant deal. So they're not out for the count, and they'll certainly be looking to continue challenging Team Queso in this one. But Team Queso have kind of really cleaned up their game from the previous, and they're looking really good here as well. So it seems like less and less that Memento Mori are going to get back into this game. Lots of damage goes down onto this turret. PRZ with the gauntlet catches It's a New Day. Kieran will be nice and safe on the other side, but they've lost their captain here. That could just open up the floodgates to hell as Team Queso with an opportunity to try and trap Memento Mori into challenging a Kraken, or even just trying to hard push. They're going to go for a bait. The bait doesn't quite succeed just yet, but they got time, full 16 seconds until It's a New Day enters the fold again.
Dark Ghost having an idea that Memento Mori might be hanging out in that bush. Guesses correctly, but Dark Ghost. Oh!
Why? Why would you just charge towards the Grumjaw? You have so much range on Sky. Oh, that shut down any chance of Team Queso baiting in anything. I don't know. Maybe Dark Ghost meant to series strike then forward barrage and just missed up the combo, but yeah, that was not ideal.
I really like actually the itemization here by Mr. K Cool going for the Slumbering Husk. There is so much burst on the side of Memento Mori that we just saw. Dark Ghost almost got deleted, but Mr. K Cool on this Baron, who is arguably going to be a priority target, will not be able to get burst down that heavily, and this is going to become really tough.
Yep, Stefantu goes in, Stefantu goes out. He was not having any of that, but he did a lot of work to Dark Ghost. Can they turn this fight around? It's a New Day loses his life. Uses the fountain off cooldown pretty much, and Kieran is all by himself here, and the war treads have been popped. Kieran's going to have to really work to escape from this one, as the forward barrage is going to connect. There's the Shimmer Strike. The Chakram's dancing back and forth. Does a bit of damage, but Kieran's going to go down here to that forward barrage. And now with 2 members down on the side of Memento Mori, this is going to be a Kraken taken. Stefantu dives in. I'm not sure where. He's going to lose his life now to Mr. K Cool or Dark Ghost. The ace comes through, and I'm not sure what to say, really. Memento Mori have been looking lackluster in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And Team Queso, they've been taking advantage of every opportunity that has been presented to them. Now going to be able to take this Kraken. Only 2 turrets left. You've got It's a New Day trying to hold these ace buff minions at bay, waiting for Kieran to respawn to be able to pick up that gold. But there's going to be a Kraken barreling down the lane, or I guess lumbering is a better term, but making her way down the lane regardless of the pace. And now it's just 2 turrets standing between Team Queso and survival in this elimination bracket, and elimination for Memento Mori.
I actually don't like Stefantu's build either on the weapon powered Grumjaw. I think you need a Sorrow Blade in there for full effectiveness for the best. you just don't do enough damage with the crit, in my opinion. This is going to be a fight breaking out. The Crystal Sentry might get involved, or it might just make its way out to the jungle. Seems like it wants to go to work, doesn't want to deal with Memento Mori today. Lots of damage coming down onto these turrets, and Team Queso just focusing them down. This Kraken at half HP, but so is this first Vein Crystal turret. And Stefantu has lost his life. That's seemingly GG here, but we'll see if Kieran can pull a god play. It's a New Day charging forward. That Storm Guard bubble just not doing anything really for the team, and the second turret's going to lose its life as well. GG, well played as the gauntlet goes down. That's going to be game going over to Team Queso here, and they're going to find themselves fighting for playoffs against the side of, as I scroll up on Discord, Infiltration.
Yeah, again, a dominant performance in games 1 and 3. Team Queso looking like they lapsed up a bit in game 2, but were able to tighten things right back and just really took care of Memento Mori in this game 3. Questionable decisions abound for both teams throughout this series, but Team Queso is the one that comes out on top. If they just play the way they did in games 1 and 3, this is the team to really contend with in VGL. But the problem is they do occasionally play like the Team Queso that played in game number 2. So hopefully they'll be able to keep things a lot tighter throughout the rest of VGL.
I've got a little comic drawn up in my head that kind of perfectly describes this series. It's a 3-panel comic. First is Team Queso just doing their job, easily doing their job, kicking a football, whatever it may be. The second panel shows Team Queso with a gun shooting themselves in the foot. The third panel says, ouch, I probably shouldn't do that again. That is essentially how that series went. Team Queso outclassed their opponents in game 1 and game 2, but by shooting themselves in the foot in game 3 with a hyper carry Celeste just not working out, and they made this series much tougher than it needed to be, Scoundrel.
They did indeed, Dalsey. Just letting them know that we're actually going to be streaming them again on the trot as we head towards this next game between Team Queso and Infiltration T1. That will be our next series of the day, so don't go anywhere. As we head to a very short break, we'll have all of the information all updated for you, and we'll head into this next series as it is another elimination match for Team Queso to have to face. And Infiltration T1 will be fighting for their position in the upcoming playoff brackets, which will be decided by the end of today.
In that line, future we will never run.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes, we are back. I know, it's a shame. We are into this next match between Team Queso and Infiltration. It's our final series of the day, another elimination match for Team Queso to fight up against. Now, before we go into the game, which will be starting very shortly, I do want to bring up our wonderful API screen again, and we can have a little talk about the statistics behind these players before we go hurtling into our game, because obviously the game is where we are aiming to end up, hopefully, sometime. So, Infiltration, Hularus, Icedug, Mr. M. Roswald. Hularus has got a lot of captain heroes, as does Icedug, both of them maining captain in solo queue, it seems here, Dalsey. That's an interesting one. Both of them are sort of captain mains in their solo queue experiences. Whereas obviously we've seen Team Queso's stats, and Mr. K-Cool playing a lot of Idris recently, finding a lot of success.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people are finding success on Idris at the moment, especially on the CP build, as it seems to be a little bit more in line with a typical carry, whereas weapon power Idris requires the immense amount of mechanics that Idris offers. So that's kind of why CP Idris is so good right now.
Well, we are into the draft. Our CP Idris Master has given us a masterclass in what to expect.
Not a CP Idris Master.
Our Idris Master has given us a masterclass in what to expect.
Thank you. Oh man, this is an important series. As always, this series actually decides who goes to playoff this Scoundrel.
Really, really important, and we're heading through draft now. First ban for Team Infiltration will be the Grumpjaw. Now we are just waiting on Team Queso to make their play. Really thinking about this ban right now.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're hovering the Catherine there. I think this is a trap from Infiltration here, as they're going to pick the Baron up, and that's going to be an Idris locked in immediately for Mr. K-Cool.
Was it a trap they fell for? Did they fall for the trap?
Well, they have. It's whether or not the trap is going to kill them or not.
Will it maim them? You know, I mean, that could be pretty devastating for the rest of this series. I mean, you don't really want to get maimed by a trap. But anyway, we are going to move on with Lyra locked in here. Again, Lyra actually, if you remember the stats, Hularus, very successful on Lyra in solo queue on his VGPro.gg stats TM, sponsored by. And we're waiting for the final lock in here over on Infiltration side.
Glaive.
Okay. Interesting. That's interesting. You're relying solely on Lyra to protect your Baron against Idris.
Yeah, trying to be another threat with the CP Black Feather there. Oftentimes at Scoundrel we find that when you pair two late game threats, not that CP Black Feather is a late game threat, you often kind of struggle when you have a Baron, but it could work out. We'll have to see.
I was talking to the XL team, and a lot of them on the XL squad believe that when you pick a Baron, you kind of have to pick a jungler that facilitates as a peeling tool as well. Which is why you often see Grumpjaw and Baron put together if they can get that. You often see sometimes Glaive put in, like you said, because the Afterburn can be used as a peeling tool. But this is a very late game scaling composition for Infiltration here. And it's going to be Kestrel long range here, by the way, Dalsey, with Mr. K-Cool on that Idris and the Kestrel in the jungle for Dark Ghost. Maybe they are looking to snowball things a little bit earlier.
Yeah, no, and this is going to be a weapon power Idris, which I think is the counter for Baron.
Yes.
From Mr. Keiko, more so than the CP Idris. With the CP Kestrel, you can poke him from long range.
Because of the wind-up time on Baron's jump jets as well, it's so easy to cling on to the Baron even if he tries to jump away, because you can ult as he's winding up that jump jets and you literally fly with him, and then you're still on attacking him when he gets there. So Dalsey knows all about that. I've seen that move from him several times. Let's get on to the Halcyon Fold for our final series of the day. Infiltration T1 versus Team Queso.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel. And just to add on to that little point by Scoundrel towards the end, it also is very good because, you know, the jump jet secures you 2 auto attacks, but if you hold your Shimmer Strike for a little bit, then Baron's forced into an awkward position where he either holds his auto attacks for you when you pop out of your ultimate, or he uses them and then you just pop out and take no damage. So it makes things very difficult for the Baron, and this is kind of where I really love playing Weapon Power Idris into Baron, just because he gets assassinated, and that's what you need against Baron. You need an assassin, and Idris is certainly that. Tasty, what are you making of this draft from these two teams?
I'm back just in case. I'm back. Oh, no,
Nope,
he's there. He's there. He's there.
I'm here just with an extra mute button press than was intended.
Extra mute button.
I accidentally double clicked it. So I
Mr.
unmuted
Keiko's
myself and then immediately muted it.
Whoop.
Mr. Keiko is going to be
Whoop.
oh.
He's okay. He's okay, I
Is he?
believe. Nah, he's
Is he
not.
though?
He's okay. He's okay.
Oh, that was so close.
As soon as the Lyra stepped away, he was fine. There was no way that the Black Feather was going to kill him. It would have been Lyra who would have killed him in that scenario.
Yeah. So interesting thing about this matchup, Team Queso versus Infiltration, is all the way back in round 1, it was Isuba that beat Team Queso. Infiltration is the team that beat Isuba. So by the transitive property, that means that Infiltration is a better team than Team Queso.
Sure, let's apply some chain logic right here. We know that chain logic. Whoa! How do you say logic?
It's such good logic that it has just baffled your mind.
I can't say logic, guys. Yeah, chain logic obviously not the premier of an analyst tool belt, but yeah, it is obviously an interesting historical fact as far as this tournament has gone.
Yeah, so we'll see how Team Queso are going to play around this again. Lots of pressure under Mr. K Cool, but Rosworld seems pretty happy to just sit back and farm while his team tries to poke and harass.
Oh, Huli is in trouble here, and Keiko should have the kill, and it's actually going to go over to PRZ. It doesn't really matter towards the end. It's first blood nonetheless, and that's going to put the pressure onto Miss M. Roswell here, and more importantly, take the pressure off Mr. Keiko, who's really wanting to try and get to that point where he becomes a threat towards this Baron.
Yeah, and, it's always nice to get the Roswell.
Oh, he doesn't have jump jets. The jump jets, he didn't have the cooldown for it. He pops it just as he dies, but the energy, sorry, he didn't have. Oh, wow. What a great turn of events here for the side of Team Queso. They're going to be very happy. They can push this wave in with the glimmer shots, with the chakram, really start to put the pressure onto this Baron lane, even more so.
Yeah, and, I joked about the transitive property earlier, but on paper, this is a matchup that Team Queso should be able to win. It's the number 3 versus number 14 seed. So there is a reason why Team Queso was seeded so highly, and you're seeing that here as they're able to find themselves some early advantages. Dark Ghost with this Kestrel is it's going to be pretty painful for the members of Infiltration, because CP Kestrel, if she's left unchecked, just does massive amounts of damage.
I actually think CP Kestrel easily can go into the jungle and delete CP Blackfeather earlier on. Perhaps as we start to hit level 6s, it becomes a little bit more difficult because the road's offensive, but certainly Dark Ghost has a lot of power to his name right now. Mr. Keiko has unlocked his Divergent Paths nice and early. He's decided to, instead of focusing on going towards a Sorrow Blade, he's got himself the Heavy Steel plus 2/6 Sins. That's now enough to unlock Divergent Paths on your weapon power route, and it just provides that blink. Now, the blink's obviously not going to give him too much extra damage, but what it will do is mean that he's nice and safe in lane and can just kind of dip and dive around the constant poke that wants to come out of Infiltration, and actually just also finish up kills when Dark Ghost lands a lot of poke onto one of these targets.
Well, right now, speaking of that poke, Dark Ghost trying to get some glimmer shots out, not quite able to connect with many of them, but Ice Doug is going to be taking a fair bit of damage. It's the one thing you can, even once the team fights kind of end, like the skirmishes end, they're still trading that Team Queso is going to be able to perform.
Yeah, and look at the damage that's going down onto the turret. Mr. Keiko jumps forward, he pokes down the everyone. Ice Doug takes a one shot to the face, and everyone from Infiltration is forced to go back here. This is going to be first turret going over to Team Queso. Oh, Hugh, look, is he going to go down? No.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, he is going to go down. This is so greedy. Oh, that is a huge judgment of error there. Not only do they get the turret, but they also get a kill that could have been prevented so easily.
Yeah, I mean, you have to expect that a Crystal Kestrel is going to try and make that move. That every single person that plays Kestrel tries to make that move happen, and now they've got Roswell.
He's okay for now. You know, I learned a lesson one day when I was learning how to get good at these MOBA games, Tasty Bacon. The lesson is that if you port back closer to the turret, let's say you port where the Lyra did, most of the times you're going to go back. You'll be fine. But if you walk to the other side of a turret, a bit safer, a little bit further back down the lane, you're going to get back 50 out of 50 times, right? 50 out of 50.
49 out of 50, I'd say.
I would say 50 out of 50. I'm very confident in that. Whereas if you port back as Lyra there, you're going to get home maybe 45 out of 50 times. Now, those 5 times, they don't happen very often, you know? It's not very often. It's probably 1 in 10 by my mathematics. But that 1 in 10 might happen during a game that decides who goes to playoffs and starts fighting for a challenge battle spot in Europe. And you can't afford to make errors like that. You need to be playing safe. You need to be respecting your opponents always, especially when your opponent is Team Queso.
And not just who goes to playoffs, but also who gets eliminated on the other side of that. There are no other chances from this. This is the second chance for both of these teams to try and make it through into the playoffs. So very, very important matchup. Is now members of Queso is he going to be actually able to get out of there, and Mr. K Cool trying to dive in deep.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage being put out. That's going to be a gauntlet locking everyone up, and that's looking like a kill going over. M. Roswell can't escape. Mr. K Cool does lose his life to Ice Dog, but the work has been done for Team Queso. 2 kills over to them. They are snowballing this game.
Yeah, already a very big lead in terms of the gold. And it's a little over a 3,000 gold advantage, but they're going to be able to sneak into the backs and try and steal away this Treant. It does go the way of Dark Ghost. Are they going to try and set something up? Nope, they're actually just going to be perfectly fine with backing out and forcing Infiltration to have to come towards them.
Yeah, and they are going to start moving towards, but M. Roswell has been caught very low. One shot won't connect. Ice Dog has the poke to come through. We'll have to see if Ice Dog can actually be a threat, because this Black Feather doesn't feel like a typical pick along Baron. Me and Excandro obviously already made this point. But Ice Dog hasn't really been any of a threat towards Team Queso yet, and it's allowed them to consistently go on to M. Roswell and blow him up and look to just win team fights by focusing purely on Baron.
Yep, and I mean, even at this point, that's still what they're doing as Ice Dog tries to get the poke. When he does land those on points, it will do a lot of damage, but it's not going to be available all the time. Does get the Kestrel pretty low. Mm-hmm. However, there's no ability to follow up from the rest of the team because Roswell has been really kind of pushed around so much. And it's a pretty big CS discrepancy at 79 to 102, and that's without the power farming Mr. K Cool that we saw in last series for a game. So this is just a pure advantage that Team Queso has in the farm game.
And it's been facilitated due to great presence in the lane from Dark Ghost to try and put this Baron as far behind as possible. Now, Mr. K Cool has completed his full damage build very quickly on Idris. You can finish it very often, very quickly like this. One shot lands onto Ice Dog. That's huge. And the gauntlet, the bright bulwark actually sets it up perfectly as it stuns 2. But there was no follow-up coming out from the side of Team Queso. Dark Ghost gets revealed. He's going to throw some glimmer shots right into Ice Dog, and Ice Dog's not going to be liking that. But there is really no ability for Team Queso to chase too deep because of this sentry. Unless they kick someone out very quickly, they are looking for the kills here. M. Roswell will get burst to the fountain too late. And then going on to Ice Dog, K Cool looking for a re-engage. Does find it. That will be him picking up a second kill for his team. A massive error there from the side of Infiltration, and a very late fountain costs them dearly.
And ace for Queso means they're going to be able to take this turret. They don't even wait for the minions. They're just going to go ahead and pop that. May look to try and stick around for this tier 3. This is just Roswell here for now. The rest of the team has respawned, so I expect they're just going to get some good damage on it, but not actually the turret itself. Mr. K Cool should be okay. They have a active camo trap there. Not going to get used.
Oh, Dark Ghost goes for it. Oh, they do find it in the end. Emerald World is out of here. Ice Dog, though, he wants to chase in, and he's getting poked on out. There's a lot of dipping and diving, but once more it's going to be this Lyra going out. One shot doesn't quite find Ice Dog, but this might open up Team Queso's opportunity to take this turret.
Yeah, it very much is. Roswell's going to be there to try and clear out these minions, but just doesn't have the damage to do so. Turret goes down, and there's the dive.
Yeah, easily peasily, and Ice Dog will go down as well. It's a double kill for Keiko.
They got the ace too.
Looking good. Oh, they got the ace. Here comes a wave of buffed up minions. What are they going to do? Will they look to finish now? That would be crazy.
I don't think they will be able to finish. They can't finish now without one more fight, but they can get at least one of these turrets. The respawn's going to come through. They are going to choose to back off, but this is just 100% Queso.
Oh, this is insane stuff coming out of Queso, and Mr. Keiko showing us that his Idris is pretty fly, and now they're going to chase Mr. Keiko down, but he doesn't really care. Jumps over the wall, picks himself up a treant for the healing, and now they can look to shop up. They have lots of gold. Mr. Keiko had 3,000. Just buys an Aegis straight up and an infusement. He's ready to go again. Not even respecting the damage that M. Roswell has been putting out. One shot deletes Ice Dog, and this is going to be the Lyra dying before. She's not even using a portal. M. Roswell goes, and they lose Lyra as well. I don't know what's happening, to be honest. Infiltration.
The game's ending. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Ace buff minions still pretty far away, but they don't even care. They have the damage to just burn through this turret. Respawn's going to come through, but they're going to be on to the crystal. Team Queso, sub 13 minutes, should be able to take this game.
Yeah, well, they're going to finish it. But Mr. Keiko wants Paddy's stats first, gets the kill. The Flame Crystal falls, and 10-1-5 result there for Mr. Keiko. Very clean game coming out of them. Mr. Keiko will need to work on his feeding, obviously, as the only member to have died on his team. But I don't think that's at the top of the priority list for Queso just now.
So, everyone went a bit silent there, and I have no idea why. Anyway, so we're going to move on, as we can, into the next game, where possible. As Dalsy and Tasty Bacon obviously gave me plenty of time to finish up adjusting all of the overlays. But as it stands, that was a very, very quick win there for... very quick win there for Team Queso. So I suppose we have a very, very quick ending to the game as well, as Mr. Dark Ghost is just going to wait to reset his application, and then we're going to get on the road once more. We'll try and get into draft as quickly as possible. So I know you guys are itching to see more Vainglory action, and Team Queso now are just one win away from getting themselves into the lower half of the playoff bracket. Still not out of the water, but definitely feeling like they're not waist deep anymore. Did look like it was going to be a pretty rough ride for the Team Queso squad when they started VGL, lost their first game of the tournament, I believe, and went down into the lower brackets. They've had a really tough road to get here, but they are still hanging on, still playing the best quality VG that they can, and that was a very convincing win for them, Dalsy.
Oh, for sure, and that's the counter that is Weapon Power Idris into Baron. Just completely trumps him early game, and even into the late games, really destroys him. I think the issue there was probably more of an issue of picking Black Feather as your person to kind of bridge the gap. Not really able to do that. The Lyra, though, from Polaris, I think you mentioned from stats provided by VG Pro that it's a hero that he plays a lot in the old solo queue rank, and I don't know, man, didn't really show me that he had a full understanding of her.
Dalsy has become connoisseur of everybody's understanding of particular heroes in the game today. But that's fine, to be honest.
It's just like, there was no portals to escape. There was late fountains, the healing wasn't there. Like, it was very sloppy play from the entirety of Infiltration.
Well, let's begin the draft once more. This time Team Queso will be on A side. They get that first pick. Waiting for the ban to come out from Infiltration T1, who are staring down the barrel of elimination from VGL here after eliminating some great names in the likes of Izuba and so on and so forth. And Team Queso are one win from getting themselves back into contention into the playoff bracket, where they will need to win a bit more than if they were in the winners bracket, but they still have a chance of getting to those playoff spots, where they will then be fighting for a VGA spot.
Okay, this is going to be a Adagio into Grace. No. No.
No, that one's not a very good decision. I mean, the Vox is great into Grace. The Adagio is the opposite of good into Grace.
I heard you like casting Verse of Judgment really slowly. I have a B.
Right,
and there's a Rona. That just is going to compound that
so
issue.
I actually played a game earlier with Radaption, and we played against Mowgli and Rukumeza, and they had the one and only Cruel main on their team. I'm trying to remember his name. It's I can't remember his name. Doesn't matter. Whatever. And they destroyed us because we had an Adagio into a Grace and a Cruel. You need CC. I guess Rhyme will provide some CC, but this Batiste in the jungle is going to kind of just shut down everything.
So, we are about to head on to the Halcyon Fold. Loading things up as we speak. Team Queso are 1-0 up in the series thus far. Dalsy and Tasty Bacon, after that last performance, do you really see this going any other way than a Team Queso 2-0?
No.
There's a chance that it doesn't. Team Queso performs the way that they did in Game 2 of their previous series. But barring that, then absolutely not. They have a much stronger draft, and they just looked like a much stronger team.
I think you would be hitting the nail on the proverbial head there, Tasty Bacon. As we head into the Halcyon Fold, and now it's my time to say goodbye. Tasty Bacon and Dalsy, take it away.
Thank you very much, and yeah, this is looking like it's going to be a clean 2-0, especially if Infiltration plays exactly the same as they did before. Even if they play a little bit better, I'm not entirely sure it is going to be a different result, but we'll have to find out. This Rona is going to have a blast, just spinning around, doing her thing. She'll have poison ships, she'll shut down Ice Doug, and that's when things get a little bit tricky. Not only to mention the CC lock on the side of Team Queso really doesn't help the Rhyme's ability to threaten, and I don't think Team Case are going to really care about the fact that they've drafted a triple melee into Rhyme, because their triple melee has a lot of CC and a lot of ability to escape.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game for sure, but Mr. K Cool up in the lane, this will be like one of the few times where there's a chance for Infiltration to really kind of bully him around and try and push him out of the lane. Of course, does have the book eulogy, so as long as he gets back onto the minions, gets those last hits, he will be okay, but Hularis will be able to keep a lot of pressure, try and force him to at least sit underneath his turret. But that's not really where Roswald and the rest of Infiltration want him to be, because that's where Mr. K Cool can farm up easily.
Yeah, and Dark Ghost and PRZ, they're playing Batiste and this Grace. It's possibly one of the strongest invading level 1s to 5s, because you have this Grace who just provides so much slow damage, protection in the jungle, and when Batiste puts his Ordain down, you practically can't miss Holy Nova. Okay, I say you practically can't because you can. It is possible. I've seen it happen, and I've been very tilted by it, but you shouldn't at this level.
Yeah, not only that, but it just puts you in such a bad spot when you're the one who gets ordained, because it's, okay, I either stand here and get stunned by Holy Nova, or I leave the ordained, get stunned, and then get stunned by Holy Nova. So you're pretty much just between a rock and a hard place. And it's such a strong duo. We've seen it beaten a couple times in Vainglory 8, but that was only Mouse Sports, the top team in Europe currently, that has been able to beat the Grace as a captain.
Yeah, it's very hard to do so. PRZ here takes a lot of damage, but on Grace he doesn't seem to care. There is a lot of pressure coming out of Infiltration. I do like it. They are trying to push Mr. Keiko onto turret. The good thing about having range against triple melee is that you do have a lot of lane pressure. And this is kind of where the Adagio does work a little bit, is that you can provide that lane pressure. But I think Alyra probably would have been a little bit better if you're wanting a healer with lane pressure and range, because I don't suspect that the Adagio is going to be some sort of magic bullet towards Team Queso.
Well, we'll have to see where else they decide to go this again. I really do like the way that they are playing with this aggression that they're bringing out, but they haven't been able to find anything for it. Mr. K Cool's been farming up perfectly fine up in the lane. Actually has a CS lead over Roswald despite the pressure that they've been trying to put onto him. So really great stuff from Mr. K Cool in this game on the Rona.
And that's just due to the fact that M. Roswald has been trying to put the pressure onto onto Mr. Keiko, and he's been missing CS because he's been prioritizing auto attacks onto it. Dark Ghost gets rooted. He does take a lot of damage, but PRZ jumps in. Ordain goes down. Ice Dog stuck inside it. Hula is taking a lot of damage. That's going to be a first blood going over to Mr. Keiko as he swags on out.
And just jumps away to safety. The rest of the team sticking around still, looking for some damage onto Roswell and Ice Dog. Ice Dog going in.
He does find a kill, Ice Dog, and he has that fortified health. That's going to provide a little bit tricky for Team Queso. Have to make sure you don't get too close to it. That's where the CC comes in. You use your Ordained, you use your Holy Nova, just allow Grace to tank it all up, or else you will allow Ice Dog to find kills.
Yeah, so a good job getting his first item very quickly, having that Eve of Harvest now on Ice Dog. Dark Ghost still needs a fair bit of farm in order to finish off his first tier 3 item. Meanwhile, Roswald gets the Poison Shiv. Mr. K-Cool going to go with the Serpent's Mask route as his first item. As just looking for that massive sustain when it comes time to go red mist spinning through the enemy team.
I want to see a Poison Shiv, I think, after that.
The big double sustain build along with Grace healing. Like, Mr. Kickle's just never going to die once he gets into the thick of things.
The reason I want to poison Shiv is not because I want to see double sustain. I just want to see him shut down Ice Dog's healing. That's all. I think that when you have a Adagio and you have a Rhyme, that has, of course, the Eve of Harvest, and you just want to kind of shut down that healing. Hularis is in trouble here, gets Ordained, gets stunned. Ice Dog trying to provide presence, but that's a great Fearsome Shade, and it prevents Ice Dog from doing anything. Valkyrie lands on Dark Ghost's head, but there's the heal coming out of PRZ, and they are just going to be very happy to walk away. Even could try and engage onto M. Roswald. They are going to do so. Where are those Ordained? Starko is going to pop it onto Ice Dog. They need to disengage now. That is the chance to disengage and force the fortified health to drop. And that's exactly what Team Queso do. Mr. Keiko doing a fantastic job of CSing in this lane and has built himself up about a 10 CS lead at 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, and again, this 10 CS lead is coming despite having been pressured early on, despite having been pushed under his turret repeatedly in the early game. He's just been able to be so consistent with his last hitting, able to find those minions, and now members of Team Queso have been able to find a couple of kills, despite the fact that Infiltration has been the ones trying to be the aggressors thus far through the first 6 minutes of the game. You got to figure eventually that's going to end up changing as well, because it's tough to continue to try and be the ones looking for the fight if you're not able to actually find kills when you go for them.
Yeah, for sure. And this gold lead that's been accumulated from the side of Team Queso has just been purely due to good rotations. Hularis going to get out of the Ordained. He's learned his lesson, got that reflex block going towards the Crucible, of course. Not that Crucible's really going to do much for the team. Oh, actually, no, that's not true. Fearsome Shade can be blocked. One cool tidbit about Fearsome Shade, though, is if you do block Fearsome Shade, do not run away from it. Hularis is going to find himself hurt and taken on down. Ice Dog, Valkyrie flies out, does find this Batiste. He is very squishy, and M. Roswald wants to kill. Mr. Keiko very happy just farming. M. Roswald now will lose his life. He is going to go down. M. Doug, last man standing. The Rhyme into 3 melees also just gets dropped instantly. The reason, Tasty Bacon, you don't run away from the Fearsome Shade after you block it is when that block runs out, you actually can be feared by the Fearsome Shade again. So
yeah, there was actually a discussion at one point amongst some of the pros who thought that it was bugged, because they're like, we blocked it, we got the block, it said block over our head, and then we still got feared, and it came to light that they had been running away from it and not realizing that, you know, the last tick of the Fearsome Shade came through after the block went down and still ended up causing the fear effect. So it's definitely a tool that you have to be very much aware of where it's going the entire duration.
Let's talk about gold. It is a huge gold deficit right now in the lane, as Mr. Keiko finishes his second damage item. Not only that, he has a lot of defensives as well. M. Roswald, he's so behind on CS and you know, gets gold from these kills as well, that he hasn't even finished his second damage item, and he's only got 1 tier of defense as well. So this is huge for Keiko, because this Rona is such a threat. There's almost nothing that shuts down the Rona either on this side of infiltration. I guess the only thing is the Rhyme, who can root her up, but even then, I think the Rona is going to be okay with that. He just jumps onto the Vox after the root finishes.
I mean, the Rhyme has to be close enough to Rona to get the root that Rona's going to be able to deal damage during that. So even that doesn't really stop her that much. So it's just going to be a very difficult task. Right now, Team Queso jumping in again.
Yeah, Dark Ghost is being singled out by Ice Doug, who's going to walk himself out of the Ordained and the Fearsome Shade. Mr. Keiko's taking a lot of damage here. Does get the Fountain to heal himself up, and there's Divine Intervention. M. Roswell, he's getting burnt alive, and Mr. Keiko going to get himself a kill there. Ice Doug does finish off Dark Ghost, so a bit of a kill going back, and Ice Doug's going to come in and look to try and finish off Mr. Keiko as well. PRZ gets stunned by the Valkyrie. Hulurus is very low, and he's going to fall to Mr. Keiko as he dives on his face and spins with bloodlust in his eyes. Ice Doug now out of energy, has the Eve of Harvest, but he's not going to be able to do anything to Mr. Keiko realistically. And the snowball from Team Queso just becomes more and more.
Yeah, it is starting to really roll down the hill with increasing pace, as they have a 7-2 kill advantage, 22,500 to 19.3 thousand gold lead. They haven't even taken the gold miner, despite the fact that it's been available. I'm actually kind of surprised they haven't gone for it, but all this gold lead is just from the kills, the CS, and that one turret they've taken. They found Hulurus.
Oh, they're just going to jump onto Mr. Oswald. I love this. As Mr. Oswald tries to save his captain, he also loses his life in the process. Hulurus goes down. Ice Dog dives in. The Ordained onto a dead target, and Ice Dog gets feared away, as does Mr. M. Roswell, who's going to really not want to be close to the action whatsoever. That's going to be a Crystal Sentry taken down. Love the fact that Team Queso are putting the pressure into the jungle, because the jungle is the only place that infiltration feels safe right now. You remove that Crystal Sentry, then they're not going to feel safe whatsoever.
All right, so Team Queso, huge lead, should be able to just continue with this pressure. Ice Doug's going to find Mr. K-Cool, but not sure if that's really what he wants. Mr. K-Cool doesn't want that fight. He wants Roswell.
Look at this damage onto M. Roswell. He's turning onto Ice Doug. Hulurus is going to not even stun him, and the block comes out. Mr. K-Cool, 1v3, finds a kill, and that is ridiculous stuff from the man himself. Oh my gosh, Team Queso looking so good. Hulurus is dead. He's just going to have to stand still and take it to the face as another kill goes over to Mr. Keiko. And now this turret's going to lose its life. Mr. Keiko doesn't even care. The Divine Intervention comes through, heals everyone up. Mr. Roswell's stuck in the Ordained, but he's just going to stand his ground, throw the silence out, and that is going to be more gold going over. 5,500 gold lead at the time. And now Ice Doug comes in. That's going to be the tree and stolen away. Mr. Keiko dives forward. He gets stunned in the Ordained M. Roswell, and he goes out as well. Here comes the Crystal Sentry getting involved again. Ice Doug is doing a lot of work to PRZ, and Dark Ghost, will we do enough work to Mr. Keiko is the question, as the Ordained locks everyone down. Hulurus just walks into the wall and gives up all hope for life, and Ice Doug is stuck in the middle of Mr. Keiko, PRZ, and Dark Ghost will find PRZ, but I think that might be just it, as he loses his life to the kind of big deal that is Mr. Keiko.
Not only did that start with a 1 versus 3 by Mr. K-Cool, went under the turret. Oh my God, they're still not done.
Mr. K-Cool won't be able to find the kill this time, but they're going to get a turret.
1v3, go under turret, continue to team fight. They picked up probably 5 kills during this entire exchange, ending with an ace while the Crystal Sentry is still fighting you. That is just absolutely ridiculous. Dark Ghost is good, and Mr. Keiko has 3,500 gold in his pocket.
What does he buy with that is the question. Does he buy? Can Keiko ever buy? He goes on to M. Roswell. He's doing the damage to this Fox. He has no chance of survival and goes down to a bad mojo. Ice Dog will be the next target. This might be a pretty influential versus Judgment. Never mind. Gets blocked up with a Crucible, and Ice Dog goes down for a double to Dark Ghost. Hulurus trying to walk away from the harassment, but there's nowhere to run, and that will be Mr. Keiko denying the triple. The Crystal Sentry comes over. He says, "Hey guys, how you doing?" And they go, "You're eliminated. Get out of here. No more jungle for you." That is done. 16-3, 32,000 gold to 23,000 gold, and Team Queso are going to go to the shop and purchase Mr. Keiko 4,000, Dark Ghost 3,000, and PRZ 1,300.
The gold difference between the two teams is currently in the inventory of Mr. K-Cool and Dark Ghost.
That's insane.
That's absolutely nuts. Like, that is just ridiculous amounts of gold that they have. And that just increased even further because why not? And now let's see, multiple items going to get picked up.
Mr. Keiko buys an Aegis and a tension bow. Dark Ghost finishes his items off as well. Like, there's no chance that you win the next fight unless Dark Ghost dies because he kind of overextended. Okay, he does. That's a way for it finishing off the job. A little bit of a overzealous move, but here comes Mr. Keiko, and he's like, you know what? I am done with this game. Come here, M. Roswell. I've got you in my sights. M. Roswell's going to try and bridge the gap as PRZ takes a lot of harassment from Ice Dog. This is a little bit of a tunnel vision, realistically, from Ice Dog. The Valkyrie does slow Mr. Keiko down, and it's going to be Ice Dog getting involved with Mr. Keiko, who might find himself a little bit trapped, I think. But that's going to be the shield going down. That's going to be Ice Dog knocked up, and Mr. Keiko seemingly able to finish the job. Has the mortal wounds as well. M. Roswell is going to try and escape. PRZ will save himself. He doesn't even care. And this is Mr. Keiko just trying to find the 2 versus 3. That's versus Judgment just knocked down by the Holy Nova. That's Ice Dog dead. That's Mr. M. Roswell dead. And that's Hularis dead. That's an ace. And Dark Ghost is just going to kind of sit here and farm up whilst he watches the action.
Mr. K Cool's a little bit far ahead right now.
He's just a little bit. Like, he's a kill away from being a nightmare.
Oh, boy.
No, he is a nightmare. He's
a nightmare. He's a nightmare by 2.
Yeah, by 2. Okay, never mind. I missed it. What a nightmare.
Well, look at the turret. Just no minions, no problem. Just going to jump out to safety. And this is just absolute domination by Team Queso, by Mr. K Cool specifically. But a lot of these kills have been set up by his teammates. Look at PRZ, 0-1-13 assists for the Grace.
Considering that Mr. Keiko has 100 kill participation and PRZ only has 13 of the 19 kills is pretty insane. There's another kill to Mr. Keiko, gets his 14th. This will be his 15th here as Dark Ghost doesn't even go for the kill, doesn't even attempt to steal. And M. Roswell is trying to work out how he escapes this one, misses his jump over the wall. That's going to be another triple kill to Mr. Keiko. They're not even going to look for the Kraken, it seems. No, they are. Okay, I think they could have just finished here, but it's whatever. The Kraken will certainly go towards their Kraken taken stats.
Yeah, and you mentioned the kill participation again. 100% kill participation for Mr. K Cool. 15 out of the 22 for PRZ and 17 out of the 22 for Dark Ghost. Like, the captain has been involved in the least number of kills on the team, and they have 22 of them. That is just absolutely bonkers. Mr. K Cool playing out of his mind this game.
Yeah, certainly is. At least for Ice Dog, he can say that he was also part of 100% of the kills. It seems like Mr. Keiko has said to his team, back off, I want a 1v3. And they've decided, you know what, Mr. Keiko, you had to go. You didn't get the kills. We're going to come in and finish this game with you. He's taken a lot of damage. There's still a fountain, still a crucible. Whoops. Okay, whoops. Mr. Keiko loses his perfect status. PRZ trolling the man by not using the fountain. I don't actually think Team Queso can finish now. We'll have to see. PRZ certainly does a lot of damage, and this Kraken is pretty healthy. But I'm not sure. Let's see what they do.
I think they've got it. Dark Ghost can burst the
yeah, he does. Yeah, okay, never mind. They easily finish. That's GG going over to Team Queso as they take the series off of Infiltration. Emerald's World will get pretty much trapped up here as Dark Ghost tries to find another kill for himself. The Kraken doing the work, and Team Queso will join the playoff brackets for themselves.
Yeah, very, very much a one-sided affair in this game. Team Queso locking themselves into the playoffs, as you mentioned, Dowsy, joining 7 other teams in
Not
the
quite,
playoffs.
Not yet. They haven't all made it into the playoffs yet.
But they will be joining 7 other teams in the playoffs, is what I meant. There are 5 teams that are already, 5 other teams that have already gotten themselves a spot in the playoffs, including a 22 seed. That's going to be a really fun one to check out. But definitely great game from Team Queso and Mr. K Cool in particular.
I just want to double check because I think that 22 seed, yeah, okay, that 22 seed would have been contested by the likes of Team Queso or Team Gravity. So that's kind of how we see high Historis Esports, and they've got a very difficult name to pronounce, making it through to the upper bracket of the elimination of the playoffs there. But GG to Team Queso. They've shown that they truly do deserve to make it to the playoffs. And actually, this is the first time, Excoundrel, that Team Queso have made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's a big change for them, obviously, making it this far. Shame they had to come through the losers bracket to do so, but hey, sometimes that's just the way that he does, and it happens, and sometimes you have to go through adversity to make it to that final hurdle to find your way into the potential VG8 spot that they will be fighting for alongside some other teams. Now, I have got a small bracket, as far as I can see, that I've updated for what we can already know is in the playoff bracket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys what we know is in the playoff bracket so far. Now, I know that Team Queso have just won. Unfortunately, I can't quite figure out where Team Queso is supposed to go. Once I know, I will let you guys know. I think it might be in the lowest bracket there, and we don't know who is yet to play against Hell's Flames and Team Queso. But that is the current bracket as it stands, and it's good to have a look at the top side of the bracket. Calamity Reborn versus XLVG, and Salty Potatoes versus Historic Esports, something like that.
Historis, I think it is, yeah.
Historic Esports. So, so we've got the 4 teams in the top side of the bracket there. Salty Potatoes taking on the Seed 22, which was Tasty Bacon was correct, Historic Esports, and Calamity Reborn versus XLVG, which is Leon's team going up against XL, which we saw on the stream today. So it's got a very, very good set of games, and they'll be played tomorrow. And once I find out where Team Queso goes, I'll be able to update on the bracket. But again,
from the rest of the bracket, Team Queso will be in the bottom.
The bottom. Okay, so that's what I thought. I will just slam that on there now, guys, so you can get a visual representation of where Team Queso are supposed to go.
We are getting confirmation from our lead admin and founder of VGL Blueberries as well.
We are
I think the big story there is Leon, Aeon, and Rioren, Calamity Reborn, going to be facing XL tomorrow, and I'm sure that's going to be our featured matchup. People have been ecstatic to watch Calamity Reborn in the VGL. We just haven't found an opponent, I think, that's been worthy to really showcase this this amazing roster of talent. But XL certainly could be that roster.
Yeah, XL have shown some real flair throughout this tournament. And again, this is from what we can see. We assume this will be the bracket. Unfortunately, we haven't got the updated seedings and placements yet, but this is what we are assuming will be the playoff bracket so far, and we are waiting to see. Oh wait, no, it's got to be that way. No, I think it's got to be that way, guys, because the losers of the winners' first finals will then go on to face these guys in the first round of that. So, pretty sure this is what it's got to be. This is your losers bracket and winners bracket of the playoff bracket so far. So I'm certain this is the correct way round. So there we go. We're all sorted. That is what your playoff bracket is going to look like. And tomorrow we'll be doing that playoff bracket. So make sure you tune in at the same time, 6 o'clock CET for that. And we'll have all the action for our, final few days of VGL. I think tomorrow is just the final day before our playoff brackets.
No, tomorrow is the playoff.
Oh, yes, I mean, so that is that the final day, or have we got one more week next week?
Nope. Tomorrow I see what you're saying. Yeah, we have a week next week. So tomorrow we're going to have 4 matches played, and I think we'll broadcast 3 of them. The 4 matches being Calamity Reborn versus XLVG, Salty Potatoes versus Historic Esports, and then I think we'll choose one of the elimination matches from the lower bracket. And then next week will be the completion of the playoffs and deciding which team goes to which team wins VGL Challenger Series, and the order of the Challenge Battle teams as well.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sticking with us. And thank you for watching VGL today. And we're going to have a great set of games tomorrow. It is the business end of the VGL Summer Split 1 as we work our way towards the winners who could potentially find themselves fighting the bottom end VG8 teams for their places in the professional Vainglory League. Dalsey and Tasty Bacon have joined me. Thank you very much, both gentlemen, for joining us here on the broadcast, as you always do. And we are now going to bid you farewell until tomorrow.